Tonight you are invited to set everything down and step into a quieter world. This is a place of soft stories, gentle Zen teachings, and a voice that is here only to keep you company as you fall asleep. You do not need to be a Buddhist. You do not need to understand every teaching or remember every image. All you need to do is lie down, get as comfortable as you can, and let these words move around you like calm water. If you like, you can close your eyes now. Feel the pillow supporting your head. Feel the weight of the blanket over your body and let your breath begin to slow. This time is just for you. You have carried so much today. Expectations, responsibilities, quiet worries that no one else can see. You may have tried very hard to be strong, to be kind, to be useful, to hold yourself together. Here, in this space, you do not have to hold anything. You are not being tested. You are not being judged. There is nothing you must achieve. You are simply being invited to rest. In the minutes ahead, you will hear simple Zen-inspired stories about ordinary people who learn to put down their burdens and see their lives in a softer light. A monk who realizes he cannot carry the whole world. A worker who learns that his worth does not depend on praise. Brothers who discover peace matters more than being right. A farmer who steps off the road of endless worry. A woman who finds new rooms in the house of her past. A man who stops climbing the ladder of self-improvement and finally sits down. A merchant who tastes for a moment the quiet flavor of enough. Between these stories, you will be gently guided back to your own body and your own breath, so your mind does not have to work hard or hold on to every detail. You are free to drift in and out, to miss whole sentences, to let your thoughts wander and return. You may fall asleep halfway through the first story or only near the end. Both are perfect. This is not a lesson to pass. It is a slow, kind descent into deep rest. So as we begin, allow your shoulders to drop a little. Allow your jaw to soften. Allow your eyes to grow heavy. You have arrived. The day is over. Let the night and these gentle Buddhist stories for sleep take care of you now. Tonight, as you lie down and feel the weight of your body meet the bed, you are crossing a threshold that most people rush past without noticing. All day you have moved through noise. Some of it was outside you. Messages, screens, voices, traffic, plans, expectations. Some of it was inside you. Thoughts that would not stop. Little worries that poked at your ribs. Old memories that rose like shadows in a hallway. You did your best to walk through it all. You tried to be strong, you tried to be kind, you tried to keep up. Now, at last, you have reached the edge of this long day and something in you is ready to be quiet. You may not feel peaceful yet. That is all right. You do not have to feel calm to begin. You only have to be here. Feel the simple contact of your body with the mattress, your head resting on the pillow, the fabric on your skin, the air on your face. These are small facts, but they are real. They are not a problem to solve. They are not a task to complete. They are the ground that can hold you while your mind slowly puts down its burdens. For so many hours you have been someone, the person at work, the person in the family, the person in the conversation, the person who needs to be useful, to be liked, to be strong, to be in control. You have worn these selves like different coats. Some are heavy, some are tight, some are worn out, and still you keep them on. Tonight you are invited to loosen those coats. You do not need to throw them away. You do not need to make any big decisions. Simply loosen them. Imagine that the roles you played today are hanging on hooks by the door of this night. They will still be there in the morning. You can take them up again when you need them. For now, you can stand here without them and remember what it feels like to be just a human being breathing in the dark. As you rest here, your mind may still run. It may replay something you said hours ago and judge it. It may jump ahead to a moment that has not yet come and try to prepare for it. It may compare you to someone else and decide you are behind. The mind does this because it is trying to protect you. It thinks that if it stays busy, it can keep you safe. But there is a deeper safety that does not come from running in circles. It comes from seeing clearly that, in this moment, you are allowed to stop. For now, the world does not need your constant effort. For now, your only task is to lie here, breathe, and listen. Tonight, we will walk together through simple stories shaped by the old teachings of Zen Buddhism. These are not heavy lessons. They are more like clear pools in a forest. When you look into them, you do not have to strain. You simply see reflections. You see pieces of your own life, but softened, gentler, easier to understand. The people in these stories live in temples and villages and small rooms. They carry worries that may look different from yours on the surface, yet underneath they carry the same weight you know well. The fear of not doing enough, the wish to be seen and valued, the habit of holding too tightly to what must change, the feeling of carrying the problems of the whole world on their shoulders. As you hear about them, you are not being asked to think hard or to remember every detail. You can let the stories drift through you the way a slow river moves under a night sky. Sometimes you may follow every word. Sometimes your attention may wander. You may notice your thoughts drifting off and then returning. You may even fall asleep halfway through a sentence. This is not a failure. This is exactly what this time is for. The stories are not here to test you. They are here to keep you company as you cross from the bright shore of the day to the softer shore of sleep. Let your breath be your first guide. You do not have to breathe in any special way. Just notice that air is coming in and going out. When you breathe in, there is a gentle swelling in your chest or your belly. When you breathe out, there is a small release, rising, falling, like waves that are not in a hurry. You have been riding rough waves all day. Now you can let the sea grow calmer. You may still feel tension in your body, a tightness in your neck, a knot in your back, a heaviness behind your eyes. You do not have to make these disappear. Instead, imagine that your breath is a kind visitor moving through those places. When you breathe in, the visitor arrives and sees what is there without judgment. When you breathe out, it brings a small measure of ease, not a sudden cure, just a little more space. As you soften into this rhythm, we will begin the first thread in our tapestry of stories. It starts with a question you may know very well, even if you have never said it out loud. How can I care about this broken world without being broken by it? There was once a monk who walked through his days as many of us do. He read the news of his time. He saw people hungry, sick, lost, angry. He saw greed and cruelty. He saw storms and war. Each time he heard of a new pain, he felt it land inside his chest like a stone dropped into a bowl. He wanted to help them all. He wanted to carry every sorrow until the world was healed. At first, this felt noble. It felt kind. But as the years passed, his body bent under an invisible weight. He could not sleep. He could not laugh. Even when he sat under a soft sky, his mind was filled with cries he could not silence. One evening, his teacher found him alone in the courtyard, shoulders tight, face drawn. The teacher picked up a real stone from the ground. It was smooth and heavy. He placed it in the monk's hands and said nothing. They sat together in silence. The minutes passed like slow drops of water. The monk's arms began to ache. His fingers grew numb. The teacher finally asked, "Is the stone heavy?" The monk answered, "Yes, very heavy." The teacher asked, "Why do you not put it down?" In that moment, something simple and deep moved through the monk's heart. He saw that there was a difference between seeing the stone and clutching it, between caring that the stone existed and believing he had to carry it in his own hands at every moment. He realized that he had made a silent promise to hold every suffering in the world, and that this promise was breaking him instead of helping anyone. The teacher did not ask him to become cold. He did not ask him to look away from pain. He only showed him that he had a choice about how he held it. You may recognize yourself in this monk. You may carry the sadness of your family, your friends, your society, things far away that you hear about through a screen, and things very close that you live each day. You may feel that if you ever set those sorrows down, even for a night, it means you do not care enough. Tonight, let this first story whisper another possibility. You can care deeply and still put the stone down for a while. You can be a kind human being without crushing your heart under every burden at once. As you breathe now, you can imagine the teacher's hand over yours, as if he is gently helping you lower something heavy to the ground beside the bed. It will not vanish. It will not be forgotten, but your fingers can rest, your arms can rest, your heart can rest. In the next part of our journey, we will sit more closely with this monk and his teacher. We will see how the path from compassion to burnout can turn back toward a softer love, one that does not drown you, but supports you. For now, let your breath continue its quiet work. Let your body be held. You have begun to step out of the noise and into a gentler night. Imagine the monk again, sitting in the fading light of evening. The courtyard around him is quiet. The leaves are still. The birds that sang all afternoon have settled into the trees. Only he and his teacher remain, a small circle of stillness in a wide, darkening world. The stone lies on the ground between them now, no longer in his hands. He can still feel its weight in his arms, a ghost of heaviness in muscles that are slowly beginning to relax. For a long time, neither of them speaks. The monk feels his breath moving in and out, shaky at first, then steadier. He did not realize how hard he had been clenching his jaw until it begins to loosen. He did not realize how high his shoulders had been pulled up until they start to fall. At last he whispers, "If I put the stone down, who will carry it?" The teacher looks at him with eyes that are tired and kind in the way only old eyes can be. "No one," he says simply. "The stone is not meant to be carried. It belongs to the earth. It is enough that you see it and do what you can when it lies in your path. You do not have to walk through life with it in your hands." The monk lowers his gaze, staring at the stone. In his heart there is resistance. It feels wrong, almost selfish, to even think of letting go. "What about the hungry families?" he says. "What about the people at war? What about the sick who have no medicine? The lonely who have no one to sit beside them? If I sleep, if I rest, if I feel peace, am I not turning my face away from them?" The teacher listens. He does not correct the monk right away. Instead, he asks a question. Do you believe that by refusing to rest you are feeding them? Does your exhaustion fill their bowls? Does your sleeplessness stop the bullets? Does the knot in your chest become a blanket over their shoulders? The monk feels tears rise, sudden and hot. He knows the answer is no. Yet it also feels wrong to let himself feel any ease while others suffer. The teacher reaches out and draws a simple shape in the dust with his finger, a small circle. "This," he says, "is your circle. It is the reach of your two hands, your 2 feet, your one voice, your one life. Within this circle are things you can touch, people you can speak to, work you can actually do. Outside this circle is the wide world. You can see it. You can care about it. You can even let it guide your choices, but you cannot hold it all. If you try to carry the whole world in your heart every moment, your circle breaks. And when it breaks, even the people and tasks right in front of you are left without your full presence." The monk thinks of his day. He thinks of how, while washing a bowl, his mind is screaming about faraway disasters. How, while listening to a friend, half his heart is somewhere else, drowning in scenes he cannot change. How while sitting in meditation he is not really sitting. He is arguing with the news in his head. He sees how he has not truly been with anyone, not even with himself. The teacher sees this recognition in his face and softens his tone. Compassion, he says, is not a contest of suffering. You do not honor another person's pain by destroying yourself in response to it. You honor it by being as clear, as present, and as steady as you can, so that when life offers you a chance to help, you are actually able to. Imagine two people in a stormy sea, he continues. One is drowning. The other is on a small boat. If the one on the boat jumps into the water without a rope, without a plan, out of pure guilt that they are dry while the other is wet, what happens? Now there are two drowning people and no one left to guide the boat. But if the one on the boat stays balanced, keeps their breathing steady, and uses the tools they have, they may be able to pull the other up. The monk listens. He feels the truth of it, but part of him still clings to the idea that he must hurt in order to prove his care. The teacher seems to read this thought on his face. He picks up the stone again and holds it out. Feel it once more, he says. The monk obeys. The weight presses into his palms. Now, the teacher says, imagine that every message, every headline, every story of pain you hear is another stone. One for the hungry child, one for the broken home, one for the burning forest, one for the weary nurse, one for the exhausted mother, one for the frightened soldier. How many can you hold before your hands bleed? How long before your legs give out? The monk closes his eyes. In his imagination, his arms are full. Stones against his chest, stones under his chin, stones piled until he cannot see the sky. A crushing, suffocating mountain of grief. The teacher's voice comes softly through this image. You were not born to carry the whole mountain, he says. You were born to walk your path upon it, to notice what lies before your feet, to pick up one small stone when you are able, to move it even a little from a place of harm to a place of less harm, then to rest your hands so that you can walk again tomorrow. As you lie here listening, you may feel that most of your stones are not made of world events. They may be closer. The worry for someone you love who is struggling. The weight of being the one everyone turns to when things go wrong. The feeling that if you ever stopped holding your family, your job, your responsibilities in a tight grip, everything would fall apart. Notice how those thoughts land in your body. Perhaps your chest feels tight when you picture letting go even a little. Perhaps your stomach clenches. It is natural to feel afraid. All your life you have been told, directly or indirectly, that your worth is measured by how much you carry and how little you complain. Tonight you are allowed to question that. You are allowed to ask, is my constant tension truly what keeps everything from breaking? Or is it just wearing me down? Think of one person you love very much, someone whose pain touches you deeply. Would you want them to carry themselves the way you carry yourself? To never rest, to never feel light, to never sleep peacefully because others are suffering? Or would you wish them moments of joy, soft nights of real rest, mornings where their shoulders feel free? If you can wish that for them, you are allowed to wish it for yourself. This does not make you selfish. It makes you honest. As the evening deepens in the monastery, the teacher tells the monk a simple practice. Each morning when you hear of suffering, he says, pause. Bring your hands together at your heart. Acknowledge it. Say silently, I see this pain. I care. If there is some action within your circle, take it. Give a coin. Offer a word. Lend an ear. Change a habit that harms less. If there is no action possible, bow in your heart and let it pass. Do not grip it like this stone. Do not glue it to your bones. Let it move through you like a wave. The monk nods. It sounds too simple almost, yet he feels something in him unclench. The idea that he can feel deeply without drowning is new. It is like discovering a door in a wall he thought was solid. The teacher rises. The stars are out now, bright pinpoints in the dark sky. He gestures to them. Even the Buddha, he says, could not end suffering in a single breath. He showed a path, and then each person had to walk it themselves. You are not the savior of the world. You are one walking among many. Walk with love, walk with care, and also walk with rest. As you lie here, you can try the monk's new practice. Think of one sorrow that has been sitting in your chest. A person, a situation, a memory. Bring it to mind gently, not to torture yourself, but to honor that it matters to you. Then in your own way, say inwardly, I see this. I care. If anything I can truly do appears, promise yourself you will consider it when the sun is up. Then with your next slow exhale, imagine that you are placing the stone version of this sorrow on the ground beside your bed. Not thrown away, not ignored, simply set down for the night. Your heart is not a warehouse. It is a garden. It needs periods of stillness to stay alive. In the next part of our journey, we will meet another monk whose struggle comes not from carrying too much of the world, but from feeling that he himself is never enough. For now, let your breath move softly. Let your hands rest empty. The stone of the world can lie on the earth while you drift a little deeper into the kindness of this night. From the courtyard where the stone of the world has been set down on the earth, our path now leads into another kind of weight. This one is not made of other people's pain. It is made of the thoughts you turn against yourself. If the first monk was crushed under the suffering of the world, the next one we meet is crushed under a single sharp belief. I am not good enough. You may know this voice. It is quieter than anger, but just as heavy. It speaks when you look in a mirror. It speaks when you compare your life to someone else's. It speaks when you lie awake at night and replay all the things you did not do, or did not do perfectly. In the same monastery, there was a young monk named Renyo. He worked hard. He rose before dawn. He swept the halls until the wooden floors shone. He tended the garden, pulling weeds with careful hands. He memorized sutras until his throat was dry. Yet every night, as he lay on his thin mat staring at the beams above his head, the same thought came. It is not enough. I am not enough. The other monks seemed more gifted. One of them understood the teachings with ease and asked clever questions. Another had a calm presence that made people feel safe. Another had a voice that soothed everyone who heard it. Renyo, in his own mind, was just hands and feet and effort. He believed that if he were truly worthy, the teacher would see him, praise him, single him out. Instead, the teacher often walked past him with only a nod. When a festival came, the teacher chose 3 monks to give short talks to the visitors. Renyo was not among them. When an important guest arrived, the teacher sent a different monk to greet him. When the teacher spoke of progress in the group, he never mentioned Renyo's name. All of this fed the quiet fire in Renyo's chest. He did not show his pain on his face. Outwardly he bowed, he smiled, he obeyed. Inwardly, each day became a test. He felt he was failing. One evening, after a long day of work, Renyo stayed alone in the garden. The lanterns along the path had been lit. Moths moved in and out of their glow. The stones around the small pond looked soft in the dim light. Renyo sat on a bench and folded his hands, but he could not settle. His mind was shouting. Why am I here if I will never be wise enough? Why do I try so hard if no one sees it? Maybe I am not meant for this life. Maybe I am simply too ordinary. At that moment, he heard footsteps on the gravel. The teacher approached, not in a hurry, his robe whispering softly as he walked. He sat down beside Renyo without a word. For a while, they both looked at the pond. A frog croaked from somewhere near the reeds. The surface of the water took the lantern light and broke it into gentle ripples. The silence stretched out between them like a blanket. Finally, the teacher said, "Your brow is more wrinkled than an old man's tonight. What have you been carrying?" Renyo hesitated. Part of him wanted to say nothing, to keep his pain hidden. He had always believed that a good monk should be humble and quiet, not complain. But the teacher's tone was kind, and the exhaustion of years pressed him to speak. "Master," he said, "am I failing?" The teacher tilted his head. "Failing what?" "Failing as a monk," Renyo said. "Failing as a student. I work every day, I try to follow every instruction, I memorize, I chant, I sweep, I bow, yet you never praise me. You choose others to speak. You point to others when you talk of progress. I must be lacking something. Perhaps I am too dull. Perhaps my mind is like a stone that cannot be carved." The words tumbled out, clumsy and raw. The teacher listened with the same patient stillness he had shown the monk with the stone. When Renyo finished, his shoulders slumped, as if he had just laid down a heavy bag. The teacher reached down and picked up a fallen leaf from the path. It was small and brown at the edges, its veins still faintly visible. He turned it between his fingers. "Renyo," he said, "how many leaves are on the maple tree by the gate?" Renyo blinked. "I do not know," he said. "Hundreds, maybe thousands." The teacher nodded. "And when visitors come," he asked, "do they stand before the tree and praise each leaf by name? Do they say, 'This leaf is excellent, this one is average, this one is a failure'?" Renyo almost smiled at the absurdity. "Of course not, master." The teacher held up the leaf. "Yet each leaf drinks light. Each leaf feeds the tree. Each one does its quiet work, unseen in detail but essential. If one leaf spends all its short life wishing to be pointed at, how much light does it miss?" Renyo looked at the leaf. The teacher continued, "This monastery is a tree. Some monks are like bright leaves at the top. They catch the eye. People notice them in the sun. Others are like leaves lower down, closer to the trunk. They do not draw much attention, but they shelter the bark. They cool the roots. They have their own place in the whole. You, Renyo, are such a leaf. You do much that no one applauds. You make paths clean so others can walk without thinking of it. You tend plants that feed us. You remember small tasks that would otherwise be forgotten. You focus so much on the lack of praise that you do not see how your hands support us every day." Renyo felt a mix of warmth and resentment rise in him. It felt good to be seen, but part of him still wanted something more direct. "But master," he said, "if I am only ever a quiet leaf, does that mean I will never awaken? Will I never understand the teachings deeply?" The teacher smiled. "Listen carefully," he said. "Awakening is not a prize for impressive students. It is not a spotlight on a stage. It is like the moment the leaf realizes it has never been separate from the tree. Whether you speak at the festivals or never say a word, whether you sit in the front row or sweep in the back hall, the same life moves through you as through the others. When you serve tea, when you pull weeds, when you bow, you are already living the teaching. You want me to say you are enough so that a voice in your mind will finally be quiet. But that voice is greedy. If I praise you once, it will demand another phrase, and another and another. No amount of words from me will satisfy it. It will only rest when you see that your value does not rise and fall with my attention. You may recognize this in your own life. Perhaps you have worked hard, taken care of many things, and yet the praise goes to someone else. Perhaps you post something and count how many people respond. Perhaps you look at the lives of others and feel that yours is small in comparison. The mind that says I am not enough is like a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much water you pour in from the outside, it leaks out. The teacher knew this. He rose from the bench and gestured for Renyo to follow. They walked to the main hall where a large polished bell hung from a wooden frame. It was used to mark the hours. The teacher handed Renyo the wooden striker. "Strike the bell," he said. Renyo did. A deep, rich sound filled the hall, then rolled out into the night. It shivered through the floor, the beams, the bones. When the sound faded, the teacher asked, "Does the bell ring because it tells itself I am a worthy bell?" Renyo shook his head. "No, master. It rings because it is struck." "Exactly," said the teacher. "And it was made to ring when struck. That is its nature. You, too, have a nature. When life touches you, when work appears before you, when someone speaks to you, you respond. If you respond with as much presence, honesty, and care as you can, then you are doing what you were made to do. You do not need to stand in the hall and shout, 'Am I a good bell? Am I a good bell?' The effort is in the ringing, not in the worrying. As you lie here, notice where your own version of that question lives. Am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Have I become what I should be by this age, in this job, in this role? Feel how that question tightens your chest, how it pulls your attention away from the simple fact that right now, you are breathing. Ask yourself gently, if I were not busy measuring my worth in this moment, what would I actually be feeling? Perhaps a bit of tiredness in your eyes. Perhaps the softness of the sheets. Perhaps a small sadness that you can simply hold without needing to call it failure. Renyo did not become free of his doubt overnight. But from that evening on, whenever he felt the sharp thought, "I am not enough," he would remember the bell. He would stop in the middle of whatever he was doing and ask, "What is being asked of me right now? Not in my whole life, not for my entire future, but in this one small moment. To sweep this floor, to listen to this person, to eat this meal, to rest this body." Then he would try, just for that brief time, to give himself to the task without checking how impressive it was. Little by little, the voice that measured him began to speak less often. In the next part of our journey, we will meet someone whose pain is not about themselves alone, but about a tie that has been broken by anger. Old resentment can burn for years like a hidden coal. For now, let Renyo's lesson sit beside you. You do not need to pass any test tonight. You do not need to prove your worth before you sleep. You are already here. Your heart is already beating. Your breath is already moving. For this moment, that is enough. From the quiet hall where Renyo learned to hear his own worth in the simple ringing of a bell, our path now turns toward a different kind of heaviness. One that does not come from the world's sorrow or from self-doubt alone, but from a wound between hearts that has never fully healed. This weight does not sit on your shoulders like the stone of the world. It does not whisper, "I am not enough," like Renyo's inner voice. It burns. It smolders. It glows in the dark corners of your thoughts like a coal that refuses to die out. It is the feeling of resentment, of being wronged, of carrying a story that says, "I was treated unfairly and it is not over yet." In a small village at the foot of the mountains lived two brothers, Haru and Sota. They had grown up in the same house, eaten from the same pots, shared the same straw mat on cold nights. As boys, they had raced each other through the rice fields, climbed trees until their hands were scratched, whispered secrets in the dark. People in the village used to smile at them and say, "Where you see one, the other is not far behind." When their parents grew old and died, the two brothers sat together by the family altar and promised to care for the house and the land as one. For a while, they kept that promise. They worked side by side in the fields, taking turns leading the ox, taking turns carrying the heavier load. They repaired the roof, cooked their meals, and fell asleep under the same roof that had sheltered them as children. Then one year, a merchant came to the village with an offer. He wanted to buy a portion of their land to build a storehouse. He offered a sum that made the villagers murmur. It was more money than the brothers had ever seen at one time. Haru, the older, thought of the worn tools in the shed, the cracked walls, the debts their father had left behind. He said, "We should sell. With that money, we can repair everything and still have enough land to farm. Sota the younger felt the soil under his bare feet and shook his head. This land is our parents' hands, he said. Once we give it away, we cannot call it back. He wanted to keep the fields exactly as they were. The two brothers argued late into the night. At first their voices were controlled. They spoke of numbers, of seasons, of logic. But under their words, older feelings rose. Haru remembering times he felt he had carried more of the work and never complained. Sota remembering times he felt dismissed as the younger one, unheard. Their old unspoken hurts found fresh fuel in this new disagreement. At last, in a burst of anger, Haru shouted that he would sell his share whether Sota agreed or not. Sota shouted back that if Haru loved money more than the land, he should leave and never return. The words hung in the room like thrown stones. There was a long, shaking silence. In that silence, something in each brother hardened. The next morning, Haru left the house and did not come back. He moved to the town by the river, took up work loading boats, and carried his bitterness with him like a packed bag. Sota stayed in the village, farming a smaller plot and nursing his own wound. He told himself he did not need Haru. He told himself he was better off alone than living with a traitor to their parents' memory. Years passed. Haru married, then divorced. Sota's hair began to turn gray at the temples. They heard news of each other through others in the village. Haru heard that Sota worked from dawn to dusk and barely made enough. Sota heard that Haru's back was strained from heavy labor, but neither reached out. They both allowed the same story to play over in their minds. He is the one who was wrong. I am the one who was hurt. One autumn, a traveling monk came through the village. He stayed in the small hall near the shrine and offered to share teachings in the evenings. Sota did not plan to go. He was too busy, he told himself. Perhaps the truth was that he did not want to sit still with his thoughts. But one night, after a long day of harvesting, his legs carried him there anyway. He sat in the back, arms crossed, more out of curiosity than faith. The monk spoke not about heaven or hell, not about complicated doctrines, but about the mind. He said anger is like holding a hot coal tightly in your hand, hoping to throw it with great force at someone else. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. He let the words settle in the hall. Some people nodded, some looked away. Sota felt his hand actually tingle, as if remembering something it had held for too long. The monk went on. There are hurts we cannot change. There are apologies we may never receive. Forgiveness does not always mean saying what you did was fine. It does not mean forgetting that it hurt. It means choosing not to let that hurt be the center of your life any longer. It means loosening your grip on the coal, even if slowly, even if your hand shakes, so that you can use that same hand to touch other things. A bowl, a child's head, the soil. The monk did not know Sota's story, but the words found their way into it. That night, back in his quiet house, Sota lay awake. He saw again the last argument, his brother's face twisted in anger, his own words thrown like knives. He felt again the heat in his chest. He also saw in a separate thread of memory the two of them as children, laughing, slipping in the mud, sharing stolen fruit. For the first time in years, the older, softer memories pressed as strongly as the sharp one. He realized that in order to keep his anger bright, he had been pushing those other images down. He turned his hand palm up in the dark, imagining a coal resting there, glowing. He whispered into the empty room, I am so tired of holding this. Meanwhile, in the town by the river, Haru had his own quiet visit from life. One day, while lifting a sack of grain, a sharp pain shot through his back. He dropped to his knees. For weeks after, he could not work as before. He spent long afternoons lying on a thin mattress, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the boats without being on them. With nothing to distract him, his mind wandered back to the village. He saw his brother's face, proud and hurt. He heard his own harsh words. Only now, stripped of the anger he had once used to justify himself, the words sounded empty. One evening, an old neighbor visited him in town bringing soup. Between spoonfuls, she said, "Your brother still works the field alone. His hair is white, but his back is straight. He seldom laughs." Haru swallowed a piece of root that felt too big. When he was alone again, he covered his face with his hands and finally let himself feel the grief he had been pushing aside. He missed his brother. He missed the sound of dry grass under their feet as they walked home together at dusk. He realized that he had been carrying the argument like a banner, trying to prove to himself that he was right, while a quieter part of him simply wanted the old companionship back. As you lie here, perhaps there is someone whose name brings a sting to your heart. It might be a family member, a former friend, a partner, a colleague. Someone who said words that cut or failed you when you needed them or left when you thought they would stay. You might feel two layers at once. On the surface, the familiar story of what they did. Underneath, an ache that is less about anger and more about loss. Zen does not ask you to force sweetness over that pain. It does not demand that you pretend everything is fine. It simply invites you to see clearly what your resentment has cost you, how much sleep it has eaten, how many mornings it has colored, how many times in the quiet of your own mind you have replayed the same scene and felt the same rise of heat. You may notice as you remember that your jaw tightens. Your chest may feel closed as if a door has been shut from the inside. Just notice. You do not need to push it away. You also do not need to feed it further. In our story, it took many months before Haru and Sota moved from inner softening to outward action. One winter, as snow lay in thin lines along the roofs, Haru wrapped a scarf around his neck, took a walking stick, and began the slow journey back to the village. His back still hurt, but his longing hurt more. At the same time, on a morning when the frost made the field glitter, Sota stood at the path that led to town, considering whether to go and find Haru. Neither knew the other had the same thought. Life, however, has its own timing. They met not in the town or the village, but halfway on the narrow dirt road between, where the land dipped into a small valley. When they saw each other, they both stopped. For a moment, the old anger flared up, wanting to speak first. Then the sight of the gray in each other's hair, the lines around each other's eyes, spoke louder. Without planning it, both of them let out the same long sigh. It was the sound of years of holding something too tight. Words did not come easily. At last, Haru said, "I have been angry for so long that I forgot what started it. All I know now is that I have missed my brother." Sota felt his throat close. He managed to say, "I wanted to be right more than I wanted to be close. I have carried that decision like a stone." Neither of them said, "You were wrong, and I was right." Neither of them argued the details again. They simply acknowledged the cost of their own gripping. They did not erase the past. They did, however, choose not to let it rule the rest of their lives. They walked home together slowly, step by step, saying little, letting the quiet between them be something new, not just an echo of their fight. As you inhale now, you might picture your own coal of resentment in your hand. As you exhale, you do not have to drop it completely. That might be too much for tonight. Instead, imagine easing your fingers open just a little. Feel how even that small movement allows more air around the heat. Feel how your hand, your heart, could one day be free enough to hold other things. A cup of tea, the hand of someone you trust, the softness of a pillow. In the next part of our journey, we will walk with a different kind of unrest. The kind that does not focus on past hurts but races ahead into the future, filling the night with what if and what then. For now, let Haru and Sota's long-delayed meeting rest in your mind like a picture. Two figures on a narrow road, both tired of being alone, both finally more interested in peace than in being right. Their story does not demand that you forgive before you are ready. It only suggests that, somewhere ahead, there is a path where your own heart can be lighter. Tonight, you are allowed to take one small step in that direction simply by letting your breath soften and letting your grip loosen, even by the slightest degree, as you drift a little deeper towards sleep. From the narrow road where two brothers finally chose peace over being right, our path turns now toward a different kind of unrest. This one does not burn like anger, and it does not sit like a stone from old grief. It moves. It runs ahead. It pulls you away from the bed where your body is lying and drags you into scenes that have not happened yet. It speaks in two small words that can grow into an endless storm. What if? You may know this road well. You walk it when you are trying to sleep, staring at the ceiling while your thoughts rehearse dozens of possible futures. What if I lose my job? What if I never find love? What if I get sick? What if something happens to the people I care about? The mind believes that if it imagines enough bad endings, it can somehow prevent them. But in truth, it often only robs you of the rest you need to meet whatever tomorrow actually brings. In a valley not far from the monastery lived a farmer named Taro. His house was small, with a sloping roof and a porch where he sat each evening. His fields were not large, but they were enough to feed his family and sell a little at the market. Each morning he rose before the sun, drank his tea, and walked out to the fields. From the outside, his life looked steady. He had work. He had a family. He had no great enemies. Yet inside, Taro rarely knew peace. As he planted seedlings, his mind whispered, "What if the rains do not come this year?" As he watched the clouds gather, it said, "What if it floods and drowns the young plants?" As he ate with his family, listening to his children laugh, another voice added, "What if one of them falls ill? What if I cannot pay for help?" Even when things were going well, the path of what if stretched ahead of him in his thoughts, always showing him scenes of loss and failure. One season the weather was strange. Weeks of heat were followed by sudden cold. The river rose higher than usual. Each change fed Taro's worry. He could not sleep. He would lie awake listening to the wind, his heart pounding, his mind painting pictures of empty granaries and hungry faces. His body was in the bed, but his thoughts were out in fields filled with withered stalks or in markets where no one would buy his goods. One day, exhausted from another night of little sleep, Taro visited the temple on the hill. He did not go to pray. He went because he had no other idea of where to bring his restless heart. A monk named Shin was sweeping the stone path when Taro arrived. The broom moved in smooth, steady strokes. The sound of bristles on stone was soft and regular, like breathing. Taro stood watching for a moment, then said almost sharply, "How can you sweep so calmly when the river might flood and the crops might fail?" Shin looked up, a small smile in his eyes. He leaned the broom against the wall and gestured for Taro to sit on the low step beside him. The farmer sat, his back stiff, his hands twisting together. "My mind will not stop," he said. "Every time I look at my fields, I see them ruined. Every time I eat with my family, I see them starving. I try to push these thoughts away, but they come back. If I do not worry, I feel I am being careless. If I do worry, I cannot live. Tell me, what am I supposed to do?" Shin listened, letting the words come like water from a full jar. When Taro fell silent, the monk asked a quiet question. "In this moment, as you sit here on this step, are your fields ruined?" Taro frowned. "No," he said. "They are still standing." "In this moment," Shin continued, "is your family starving?" Taro felt a little heat rise in his face. "No," he said. "They ate breakfast this morning." The monk nodded. Then he asked, "In this moment, right now, what is truly happening? Not what might happen or could happen, but what is?" Taro looked around, almost annoyed by the simplicity of the question. "The path," he said. "The broom. You. Me. The sound of the wind. My breath." Shin's smile grew a little wider. "Yes," he said. "And your fear. That is also here. We will not pretend it is not. But notice that your fear is about pictures your mind is painting of a later time. The mind is very skilled at making these pictures. It believes that if it shows you enough of them, you will be safe. Yet while you stare at those imagined scenes, you are not really in this one. You are missing the only place where you can actually live." Taro shook his head. "But if I do not think ahead," he said, "how will I be ready?" The monk picked up the broom again and handed it to Taro. "Sweep one small square of this path," he said. Taro sighed, but he took the broom and began to move it. The sound of bristles on stone returned, soft and steady. Shin watched for a while, then asked, "As you sweep, can you feel the weight of the broom in your hands?" Taro nodded. "Can you see the dust moving?" "Yes." "Can you hear the sound it makes?" "Yes, and while you are noticing these things, how loud are your thoughts of future floods?" Taro paused. "They are still there," he said slowly, "but they are not shouting as much." The monk nodded. "This is the difference," he said, "between preparing and drowning. Preparing means looking at what is in front of you and taking the next clear step. Drowning means replaying the same fearful picture until your body believes you are already in the disaster, even while you are sweeping a clean path on a dry day." Taro swallowed. "So I should just ignore the future?" Shin's voice stayed gentle. "No," he said. "Look ahead enough to make wise choices. Strengthen the banks of your field if the river has risen in the past. Save grain when the harvest is good. Teach your children skills. This kind of thinking is like drawing a simple map. It supports your journey. But when the map turns into a loop that you walk in your head all night, leading nowhere new, that is when you can stop. Notice that you are not traveling. You are pacing in a small room made of your own fear. Step outside that room. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your breath. Remember that the only place any future ever arrives is here, in the present, one moment at a time. As you lie here, you might recognize Taro's habit in your own mind. Perhaps you plan a conversation dozens of times, imagining every bad response. Perhaps you see a small change at work and your thoughts race ahead to losing everything. Perhaps you feel a sensation in your body and jump to the worst possible illness. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tense. The bed beneath you feels less like a place to rest and more like a raft in a storm. For a moment, pause. Ask yourself Shin's simple question. In this exact second, what is truly happening? Not the news, not the prediction, not the scary movie in your head. Just this. The weight of the blanket, the sound of a fan, or the quiet of the room, the rise and fall of your chest, the contact of your body with the mattress. The mind will want to argue. It will say, "But what about tomorrow?" You can answer it gently. Tomorrow will come whether I rehearse it all night or not. When it arrives, I will meet it in that moment. Right now, the only storm is in my thoughts. The river in my mind does not have to flood my body. Taro practiced this in the weeks that followed. When he walked his fields, he allowed himself a short time to plan and adjust what he could. Then, when he noticed his thoughts running in circles, he would look down at his feet, feel the soil, listen to the wind in the leaves, and say silently, "Here." Just this. At night, when his mind tried to drag him into dark futures, he would place one hand on his chest, feel his heartbeat, and remind himself, "The only life I can live is the one that is happening now." Little by little, his sleep grew deeper. His circumstances did not become perfect. Some years were still hard, but he began to notice small joys that worry had once swallowed. The taste of simple food, the warmth of his child's hand in his, the way the morning light touched his fields. As you breathe in now, you can imagine stepping off the road of what if, even for a few steps and onto a quieter path that goes only as far as the edge of this bed. With your breath out, feel how your body sinks a little more into the mattress. The past is not here in the room. The future is not here. For this breath, there is only you, this body, this night. In the next part of our journey, we will turn from the future we fear to the past we cling to. Those old rooms in our minds we visit again and again. For now, allow Tarot's broom to keep sweeping in your imagination, each stroke bringing you back from some distant fear to the simple, solid ground of this moment as you drift a little deeper into rest. From the dirt road of what if, where Tarot learned to step back from imagined futures, our path now turns inward again into a quieter but equally powerful maze. This is the part of the mind that does not rush ahead. It walks backwards. It does not fear what might happen. It aches over what has already happened and will not change. If worry about the future is like running on a road that never ends, then clinging to the past is like sitting in a locked room, replaying the same scene on the walls over and over. You may know this room. It is the one your thoughts enter when you remember a choice you regret, a loss that broke you, a version of yourself you wish you could go back and rescue. In a seaside town where the air smelled of salt and old wood, there was a small bookshop on a narrow street. Its windows were dusty, its shelves were crowded, books leaning against each other like tired friends. The shop belonged to a woman named Hannah. She had not always been a bookseller. Years before, she had been a teacher. Her classroom had been full of chalk dust and children's voices. She had loved drawing diagrams on the blackboard, hearing students say, "Oh, I get it now," seeing their eyes light up when a story opened their imagination. Teaching had felt like a clear purpose. Then funding cuts came. A new principal arrived with different ideas. Numbers mattered more than faces. One term, one letter, one meeting in a gray office, and Hannah's job was gone. It was not her fault, they said. It was the times. It was the budget. But the result was the same. The classroom door closed behind her, and she did not open it again. For a while she drifted. Then she bought the bookshop with a small inheritance, telling herself that if she could no longer stand at the front of a classroom, she could at least surround herself with stories. She arranged the shelves carefully. She made tea in the back room. She smiled at customers and recommended novels. From the outside, it looked like a gentle life. Inside, though, she had never really left the school. At night, when she turned the key in the shop door and walked home, her mind opened the same inner door. She stepped into the old classroom, but it was not the warm place she had loved. It was the memory of the day she was told to leave. She heard again the principal's professional voice. "We're restructuring. It's not personal. We're grateful for your service." She watched herself nod politely while a scream rose in her chest. In bed, staring at the ceiling, she replayed the scene. If only I had argued harder, she thought. If only I had seen this coming. If only I had chosen a different path long ago. The words "if only" turned the room of memory into a cage. During the day, the cage followed her. When a child came into the shop holding a parent's hand, her heart twisted. She would greet them, recommend a book, ring up the sale, and then when they left, stand for a moment between the shelves, feeling hollow. Her body was in the bookshop, but her mind was sitting at an empty teacher's desk, staring at rows of absent students. One rainy afternoon, when the street outside was quiet and only the sound of water on the roof kept her company, A familiar face appeared at the door. It was a young man now, taller, his shoulders broader, but Hannah recognized him. He had been one of her students years before, a shy boy who sat in the second row and never raised his hand. He stepped in, eyes wide. "Sensei," he said, using the old word for teacher. "I thought you had gone far away." Hannah felt something flutter in her chest. They spoke among the shelves. He told her that in her class he had once stayed after school to ask a question about a story. He had been afraid of his own ideas. She had listened, encouraged him, told him his thoughts mattered. That moment, he said, had been the first time he believed his voice deserved to be heard. Now he was studying literature at university. "You changed my life," he said simply. After he left, the door closed with a soft thud. The shop was quiet again. Hannah sat on a stool behind the counter. The old room in her mind, the office where she had thought her story ended, did not vanish. But another room, long neglected, opened beside it. In that room she was standing in front of a class, not on the day she lost her job, but on the day she had knelt beside that shy boy's desk and read his clumsy, beautiful paragraph. For years she had chosen only the memory where she was dismissed. She had pinned her whole story to that single nail. Now another image insisted on being seen. A student whose life had unfolded differently because she had been there. In the evenings that followed, Hannah began to notice how often her mind walked into the same painful room. She had treated it like a shrine to her loss, visiting it nightly, polishing the details, keeping the disappointment bright. She realized that part of her was afraid to stop visiting. If she stopped hurting, would it mean that what happened was acceptable? Would it mean that the years she had given to teaching did not matter? It felt, in some strange way, disloyal to her own pain to let it soften. One night, instead of letting herself replay the dismissal, she sat at her small table with a cup of tea and a notebook. The lamp cast a circle of light on the page. Her hand trembled a little. At the top she wrote, "What I lost." Underneath she wrote in simple words, "My classroom, my daily contact with students, my sense of identity, my place in the school community." She let the truth of that loss sit there, solid and real. Then on another page she wrote, "What cannot be taken." She thought of the boy who had visited her. Then others came to mind. A girl who had started writing poetry because of an assignment. A child who had stopped teasing others after a conversation. A parent who had said thank you for making their son enjoy reading. She wrote, "The hours I spent caring were not erased. The impact on students' lives is carried by them, not by the school's decision." As she wrote, her chest ached, but in a different way. It was like a knot being gently worked loose instead of being pulled tighter. She realized that the office that had haunted her was not the whole house of her life. It was one room. A painful room, yes, but not the only place she had ever lived. As you lie here, there may be a room like this in your own mind. A breakup, a betrayal, a failure. A moment when someone in authority closed a door on you. A time when you disappointed yourself. You may have built an inner shrine to that scene. You visit it often. You go over every detail. You say, "If only," again and again. You may believe that to move on would be to say, "It was nothing." But Zen does not ask you to pretend it was nothing. It asks you to see that it was not everything. Notice how your body feels when you step into that inner room. Perhaps your throat tightens. Perhaps your stomach sinks. Perhaps your breath becomes shallow. Simply observe this. You do not have to force yourself out. You can, however, ask a gentle question. What else is true about my life besides this moment? Who have I been to others? How have I grown since then? Hannah began a quiet practice. Each time the old scene arose, she would let it appear. She would acknowledge, yes, that hurt. Then, like opening a window, she would invite one other memory in. A student's smile, A successful lesson. A quiet morning in the bookshop when she helped a child choose their first novel. Slowly, the air in the room of her past changed. It did not become a place of joy, but it was no longer sealed and stale. Fresh moments flowed in. They did not erase the pain. They simply refused to let it be the only story. Over time, Hannah's relationship with her bookshop shifted. She began to see the customers not as reminders of what she had lost, but as new students of a different kind. She started a small reading circle in the back room. Children gathered on cushions as she read aloud. She answered their questions, saw their eyes light up. She was, in a new form, still teaching. The job had ended. The gift had not. As you rest here, you might imagine your own past as a hallway, with many doors. For a long time, you may have only opened one. Tonight, you are invited to consider that there are other doors. Times when you were kinder than you remember. Moments when you made someone's day easier. Instances when you learned something hard and became softer because of it. You do not have to deny the painful room, you only have to allow that it is not the entire building. On your next inhale, see yourself standing in that hallway. On your exhale, picture your hand gently closing the door of that one room for now. It is not locked. You can return if you need to. But tonight, you will sleep in a different part of the house. In the next part of our journey, we will visit another familiar pressure, one that whispers that you must always improve, always become more, as if who you are right now is never quite acceptable. For now, let Hannah's lamplit table stay in your mind, her pen moving, her story widening. Feel how your own story, too, can become a little wider, even as you grow heavier on the bed, your breath slower, your thoughts softer, sinking deeper into the quiet of this night. From Hannah's quiet hallway of memories where the past slowly loosened its grip, our path now moves toward another kind of pressure, one that does not belong to yesterday or tomorrow alone, but presses on every moment you are awake. It is the sense that whoever you are right now is only a rough draft, something to be fixed, sharpened, polished, upgraded. It is the whisper that says you must always be improving, always becoming more, because as you are now, you are not quite worthy of rest. You may know this feeling. It can attach itself to anything, your work, your body, your relationships, even your spiritual practice. It turns everything into a project. There was a man named Kaito who lived in a busy town not far from the valley where Taro tended his fields. Kaito worked in an office filled with screens and numbers. He was good at his job, but he rarely felt satisfied. When others praised him, the words slid off like water off a stone. He would think, they do not know how much more I could be doing. When he made a mistake, however small, he carried it with him for days, replaying it, promising himself he would do better next time. At night, he read books about self-improvement, how to be more productive, how to think more clearly, how to manage time, how to become calm. At first, these books gave him a sense of hope. Each new method felt like a step up a ladder leading to a better version of himself. He filled notebooks with plans, morning routines, evening routines, daily goals, weekly reflections. His days became dense with tasks designed not just to get things done, but to improve him as a person. Yet as the months passed, something strange happened. The more steps on the ladder he climbed, the taller the ladder grew. For every habit he adopted, he found 5 more he should add. For every flaw he tried to fix, his eye discovered new flaws. He became fitter but thought, I should be stronger. He became more organized but thought, I should be more efficient. He meditated, but when his mind wandered, he scolded himself for not being spiritual enough. The tools that were meant to help him became measuring sticks he used to hit himself. One evening, exhausted, Kaito climbed the stairs to the roof of his apartment building. The city spread out below, a web of lights and sound. On the rooftop, someone else was tending a small garden in clay pots. It was an older woman from the floor below, Mrs. Morey. She had silver in her hair and soil under her fingernails. She greeted him with a nod and went on gently pinching the wilted leaves off a tomato plant. Kaito stood at the edge of the roof, looking at the clusters of windows, imagining the lives behind them. In some, people were eating, in others, watching screens, in some, arguing, in some, already asleep. He thought about how many of them were probably feeling as he did, that they had not done enough that day. Without quite meaning to, he said aloud, "I am so tired of trying to become someone better." Mrs. Morey looked up, amused. "Better than who?" she asked. Kaito flushed. "I mean," he said, "better than I am now. There is so much to improve. My focus, my discipline, my patience, my skills. I feel like if I stop pushing, I will slide backwards. I read about all these practices, morning routines, productivity systems, meditation techniques, deep work. I try to stack them on my day like bricks, but the wall just gets higher and I am always on the wrong side of it." Mrs. Morey wiped her hands on her apron and came to stand beside him. She looked not at the city, but at the garden. "See this plant," she said, pointing to a small, thin sprout in one of the pots. "When I bought it, the seller said it would grow quickly. Cover the pot with leaves, give many flowers. But it has taken its time. Some weeks it did not change at all, at least not where I could see. I could have shouted at it. I could have told it, 'You are behind the others, you are wasting your potential.' But would that have helped?" Kaito watched the plant sway slightly in the breeze. "No," he said quietly. "It would just make you angry." She nodded. "And maybe I would water it too much, trying to force its growth and rot its roots." "There is a difference," she said, "between tending a plant and attacking it, between caring for growth and demanding it out of fear. Many people speak to themselves the way no wise gardener would speak to a plant." Kaito thought of the voice in his own head, the one that said, "Not enough, not enough, not enough," no matter what he did. He realized that if he heard someone speak that way to a child, he would call it cruel. Yet when the target was himself, he called it motivation. Mrs. Morey moved to another pot, this one lush with leaves. She picked off a dead one and let it fall. "When I was younger," she said, "I also loved ladders, lists, plans. 10 steps to this, 7 habits for that. I believed that if I could just reach the top of the ladder, I would finally feel at peace." "What happened?" Kaito asked. Very softly, she smiled. "I got tired," she said. "One day I was so weary from climbing that I sat down on one of the rungs and looked around. I saw that hundreds of other people were on their own ladders all around me, some above, some below, all busy climbing, very few actually looking at the world we were climbing through. I asked myself, if the point of all this is to live well, why am I not actually living? Why am I turning my whole life into a training ground for some future version of me that never arrives?" Kaito felt those words land in his chest. The idea that his life had become a preparation for a life he never got to live yet felt painfully familiar. "So you just stopped trying?" he asked. She chuckled. "No," she said, "I still plant seeds, I still learn new things, I still make lists when they help. But I changed the place my effort comes from. Before it came from the belief that I was unacceptable as I am. Now it comes from a quieter place, a wish to take good care of a life that is already worthy. When you tend a garden, you do not love it only when it blooms. You love it also when it is dirt and shoots and empty trellises waiting. You pull weeds not because the garden is shameful, but because you can see what it may become. You water because you care, not because you despise." She turned to him. "What if you tried, for a little while, to see yourself as a garden instead of a problem?" Kaito frowned. "How would that change anything?" he asked. The tasks are still there, the flaws are still there. The books still say I could be so much more. Mrs. Maury picked up a small watering can and poured a thin stream around the base of the slow-growing plant. When I water this, she said, I do not say, you are worthless until you produce fruit. I say, here is water. It will help you. When you sit to meditate, could you say to yourself, here is 10 minutes of quiet. It may help you. Not if I do not have the perfect meditation, I have failed. When you go to sleep, could you say, here is rest for my body and mind, which have worked all day. It is my way of thanking them. Not I must sleep efficiently so I can be more productive tomorrow. As you lie here now, you may sense how deeply the latter mindset has woven into your own life. Perhaps even as you listen to these words, a part of you is judging how well you are relaxing, measuring whether you are doing this sleep thing right. Notice that tendency. It will try to turn even rest into a task. You do not need to push it away. You can simply see it and smile gently, the way a gardener might smile at a plant that has grown in a crooked direction. There you are again, you might say inwardly. The part of me that thinks I must earn every breath. Thank you for trying to keep me moving. For tonight, you can take a break. I will breathe without your supervision. I will let myself be a person, not a project. On the rooftop, the city hum went on below. A breeze moved between the pots. Kaito sat down on an empty crate. For the first time in a long time, he did not feel the urge to pull out his notebook and write a plan. He felt the rough wood under his legs, the night air on his face, the quiet company of another human being who did not seem to be rushing anywhere inside herself. It felt strange. It felt like stopping at the top of a hill and realizing he could enjoy the view instead of immediately looking for the next peak. In the weeks that followed, he did not abandon all his practices. He still set intentions. He still read, but he began to ask before adding anything new to his ladder, am I doing this because I care for myself or because I am afraid I am not enough? If the answer was fear, he hesitated. Sometimes he chose rest instead. Slowly, his days became less crowded with self-improvement and more present. He noticed the taste of his food, the sound of rain, the way his chest felt when he finished a task, and allowed himself a moment of simple satisfaction instead of leaping immediately to the next thing. As you breathe now, you might imagine your own ladder standing in a quiet space within you. See all the rungs made of goals and expectations. You do not need to kick it down. That would only be another dramatic achievement. Instead, imagine yourself sitting on one of the lower rungs, feet dangling. Feel the night air. Feel the support beneath you. You are not at the bottom. You are not at the top. You are simply here. For this night, you do not need to climb. You are allowed to rest where you are exactly as you are. In the next part of our journey, we will turn toward the simple, radical idea of enough in a world that constantly shouts more. For now, let the image of the rooftop garden stay with you. The small plant taking its time, the older woman watering it with patience, and you, like Kaito, allowing yourself to be tended by this gentle night, breathing more slowly, sinking more deeply into the softness that holds you, with no need to become anyone but the one who is already here. From the rooftop garden where Kaito finally sat down on his ladder instead of climbing it, our path now leads into a quieter, almost unfamiliar space, a place many of us rarely visit in a world that keeps whispering more into our ears. More success, more possessions, more experiences, more proof, more improvement. Even when you are tired, even when you have done what you can, something in the air seems to ask, is that all? Could you not push a little further? Tonight, as you lie here with your body growing heavier and your breath growing slower, we will walk with someone who spent most of his life chasing more and then, almost by accident, discovered a small, surprising taste of enough. In a coastal town where ships from many lands came and went, there lived a merchant named Daiichi. His house stood near the harbor, its upper windows looking out over masts and sails, its lower rooms filled with wooden chests and rolled-up lists. He traded in grain and cloth and spices, in oil and tools and lanterns. His days were full of numbers. How many barrels, how many coins, how many days until the next shipment? People in the town admired him. They said, Daiichi is clever. Daiichi is successful. Daiichi knows how to turn one coin into 10. They pointed at his house when they spoke of ambition. They did not see the way his mind churned at night. Daiichi had grown up poor in a small room above a workshop that smelled of smoke and metal. He remembered his mother counting coins on the floor, her fingers moving slowly, her brow wrinkled. He remembered nights when there was not enough rice for a second bowl. As a boy, he had promised himself, when I am grown, I will never feel this fear again. I will gather so much that I will finally be safe. That promise became the engine of his life. It pushed him to work long hours, to take risks, to outthink his rivals. He did well. The little boy on the floor became a man with full storerooms, but the fear did not leave. It only changed shape. Now it whispered, what if you lose what you have gained? What if others take your place? What if this success is a peak, and from here you can only go down? One year, after a series of clever trades, Daiichi found himself wealthier than ever before. His harbor was busy with ships carrying his goods. His name was spoken with respect in other towns. On paper, his life looked like the answer to his childhood promise. Still, he could not rest. Even in moments of quiet, walking by the water at dusk, tasting good food, hearing laughter at the market, a part of him was calculating, planning, stretching his thoughts into the next deal. More was no longer a clear number. It had become a direction with no end. His body began to complain. He woke with a tightness in his chest. Sleep came slowly and broke easily. His temper grew short. One morning, after a night of little rest, he snapped at a young worker in the warehouse over a small mistake. The boy's face fell. Daiichi saw in that moment his own younger face years ago when an older man had spoken to him in the same harsh tone. The sight unsettled him. That day, an old friend from another town stopped by to visit. They had grown up together, but while Daiichi had moved into trade, his friend Kenta had moved into the hills to farm a small piece of land. He arrived in simple clothes with dust on his sandals and a calm in his eyes that Daiichi had not felt in his own face for a long time. They shared a meal. The food on Daiichi's table was rich and varied, dishes from many places. Kenta ate slowly with quiet appreciation, as if each bite were a small miracle. After some talk, Daiichi admitted, almost against his own habit, that he was tired. I thought, he said, that once I reached a certain point I would finally feel safe, finally feel satisfied. But the more I gain, the more I fear losing it. My mind is full every hour. There is always another opportunity, another risk, another thing to protect. It never ends. Tell me, Kenta, you have so little compared to what I have now. Does it not frighten you? Kenta took a sip of tea and set the cup down. Sometimes, he said, when the rain is late or the winter is long, I worry. I am not a stone. But most days, when I look at my field, when I see my children eat, when I feel my body tired in a good way at night, there is a small voice that says, for today, this is enough. Daiichi frowned. The words sounded soft, almost naive, compared to the sharp thoughts that cut through his own mind. Enough, he repeated. How do you know when there is enough? What if next year is worse? What if illness comes? What if a storm destroys your field? Kenta shrugged gently. Then I will meet that year when it arrives, he said. I save what I can. I mend my tools. I keep my relationships strong so that we can help each other in hard times. But I do not rehearse every possible disaster on the days when the sun is kind and the bowl in front of me is full. My heart is like a small bowl, Daichi. If I fill it with fear of tomorrow's hunger while I am eating today's meal, it overflows and I taste nothing, even if the food is good. Daichi walked with Kenta through the town that afternoon, showing him his storerooms almost with embarrassment, as if the sheer volume of his goods was somehow impolite. Kenta did not praise or criticize. He simply looked with curiosity, asking, "What comes from where? Who made this? Who carries that?" At the end of the day, they climbed a hill outside the town to watch the sunset over the harbor. The ships were small, dark shapes on the glowing water. The sky shifted from gold to rose to deep blue. Kenta sat with his hands on his knees, breathing slowly, not saying much. Daichi found himself restless. A part of him wanted to go back down and check on something. The ships, the accounts, the locks on the doors. Instead, he stayed. There was nowhere else he truly had to be in that moment. As the light changed, he noticed a strange feeling. For a brief time, there was no calculation in his mind, no next move, just colors, just air, just the presence of a friend by his side. A sentence rose in him, uninvited. If this were the whole of my life right now, it would be enough. The thought startled him. It was so simple and yet so unlike his usual inner voice that he almost pushed it away. That night, after Kenta had returned to his room at the inn, Daichi lay awake in his large house. The familiar worries came marching in. What if a storm hits? What if a partner cheats me? What if? Then he remembered Kenta's bowl. Sitting up, he lit a small lamp and took a cup from the shelf. He poured a little water into it, not to drink but to look. The water only rose so far. If he kept pouring, it would spill. My capacity, he thought, is like this cup. I pour plans and fears and goals into it until it cannot hold another drop. Yet no matter how much I pour in, I never feel I have drunk enough. Slowly, he raised the cup and took a small sip, paying attention to the coolness, the way his tongue met the water, the way it moved down his throat. He realized that he had gulped many things in his life without tasting them. Success, praise, comfort, even rest. Always his mind had been on the next mouthful. As you lie here, you might sense something similar in your own life. Times when you have checked off tasks but not truly felt any satisfaction. Days when you have moved from one achievement to the next without pausing to say, even quietly, I am allowed to enjoy this. Perhaps you have thought, if I let myself feel enough even for a moment, I will become lazy, I will stop growing, I will be overtaken. Yet notice how constant restlessness has served you. It may have driven you forward. It may also have worn you down. It may have made it hard to sleep, hard to be present, hard to genuinely taste any good thing because your mind was already asking for the next course. Daichi did not change overnight. But after Kenta's visit, he began a small experiment. Once each day, at some simple moment, he would stop and ask, if I do not look ahead or behind, is this moment enough for now? Eating a piece of fruit, feeling its sweetness, sitting by the water, feeling the breeze, hearing a worker laugh in the warehouse, knowing he was providing jobs that fed other families. Sometimes the answer came easily. Yes, this is enough. Sometimes his restless mind shouted, no, this is not enough. You must push more. When that happened, he did not argue. He simply noticed how that no tightened his chest and clenched his jaw, and how the rare yes, even for a single breath, let his shoulders drop a little. Enough did not mean perfect. It did not mean his life lacked problems. It meant that for a breath or two, he allowed himself to inhabit what was here without measuring it against some imagined more. As you breathe in now, you might quietly ask yourself, what in this moment is already enough? Not in your whole life, just here. the softness of the pillow, the fact that you have a place to lie down, the way your lungs still fill and empty, the simple miracle that your heart has kept beating through every joy and every sorrow, asking nothing in return. When you breathe out, let a small part of you answer. Even if only as an experiment, for this one breath, this is enough. You are not signing a contract. You are not agreeing never to change anything again. You are simply giving your nervous system a brief rest from striving. Daiichi's wealth did not vanish when he touched enough. He still did business. He still planned. But the promise he made himself shifted. It was no longer, I will gather until I am finally allowed to rest. It became, I will live in such a way that rest and gratitude touch each day, not just the imaginary day when everything is perfect. On some evenings, he walked up the hill alone, watched the sunset, and felt the same quiet sense he had felt with Kenta. For this little slice of time, with this view, with this breath, with these tired legs, life is enough. Then he would go home and sleep more deeply than before. In the next part of our journey, we will begin to draw together the threads of all these lives, weaving a gentle fabric that can hold you as you drift fully into sleep. For now, let Daiichi's hill rest in your mind. The sky changing color, the harbor below, the small shy thought rising in him, in you, in anyone who dares to pause, that even in an unfinished life there can be moments, however brief, that are quietly, tenderly enough. From Daiichi's hill, where the sky finally whispered the word enough into a heart that had chased more for so long, our path begins to turn gently inward, away from stories of merchants and farmers and monks, and toward the quiet place that has been with you through every scene of your own life. This place is not an idea, not a plan, not a memory. It is the simple, living temple of your body. All evening, as we have walked beside Haru with his stone of the world, Renyo with his fear of not being enough, the brothers with their hidden coal of anger, Taro on his road of what if, Hana in her rooms of the past, Kaito on his ladder, and Daichi on his hill, one companion has been listening in silence. It has carried your thoughts, your feelings, your tension, your hope, without saying a word. It is here now, lying on the bed, breathing beneath the weight of blankets and the soft darkness of the room. It is easy to forget this companion. The mind loves stories and pictures. It runs into yesterday and tomorrow, into other people's lives and imagined disasters, while the body stays here on the bed faithfully doing its quiet work. Tonight, as your thoughts grow slower, you are invited to come home to this temple, not to fix it, not to judge it, but to simply be with it, the way you might sit beside a dear friend at the end of a long day and say, I am here. I am listening at last. Begin with the simple awareness that you are lying down. You do not have to move to know this. Just let your attention, which has been following words and images, slowly sink downward, like a feather drifting toward the ground. It settles first at the back of your head where it meets the pillow. Notice this contact. The pillow gives way, holding you, shaping itself to you without demand. There is a small area of warmth where your skin touches the fabric. The muscles of your face, which have worked all day to show expressions, can begin to soften. Your forehead does not have to hold worry lines right now. Your eyebrows do not have to lift or knit. Around your eyes, tiny muscles can loosen, as if they have been holding a heavy curtain and can finally let it fall. Your jaw, which may have been clenched around unsaid words or quiet stress, can unclasp. Your teeth do not need to press together. If your tongue is pressed against the roof of your mouth, you might let it rest a little more loosely, as if it too is tired of standing guard. Let this softening move down through your neck, that narrow bridge that has carried your thoughts between head and body all day. Your throat has swallowed every emotion, every yes and no, every word you spoke and every word you wanted to say but did not. You do not need to remember them now. Feel instead the gentle movement of air passing through this place. When you breathe in, a coolness. When you breathe out, a tiny warmth. Imagine the breath stroking the inside of your throat like a calm hand, not trying to erase anything, just offering comfort. Your shoulders have their own long story. They have lifted bags, carried responsibilities, hunched over screens, tensed during difficult conversations. Perhaps they felt in some hidden way that they had to hold up the whole sky of your life. Notice them now. Feel how they touch the bed or the pillow. See if with your next exhale they can sink a little deeper, as if someone has gently removed a backpack full of invisible stones. You are not responsible for holding everything together in this moment. The ceiling will not fall if your shoulders drop. Let them widen and lower, even by a small amount. Let your attention travel down your arms, your upper arms, which may feel heavy or tired, your elbows, which bend for so many tasks and seldom rest, your forearms and wrists, your hands, those faithful workers that have typed, cooked, cleaned, carried, comforted, scrolled, written. Think of how much they have done in one day, in 1 year, in one life. Most of it without thanks. The mind often takes the body for granted until it complains. Tonight you can offer these hands a quiet gratitude. Without moving them much, simply feel their weight. Notice whether they are curled or tense. Imagine them opening a little, like flowers closing at the end of the day, petals softening inward. They do not need to grasp anything now. Not a phone, not a tool, not a steering wheel, not a worry. Empty hands can rest more deeply. From your hands, awareness can drift back up into your chest. This is the room where so many of tonight's stories have landed. The stone of the world, the coal of anger, the ache of regret, the tightness of not enough, the restless flutter of what if. Feel what is here now, not as an idea but as sensation. Is your chest tight or open, heavy or light? You do not have to change it, just notice. Inside this space, your heart is beating. It has been doing so since before you had a name, through every joy, every fear, every mistake, every kindness, without once demanding that you be perfect in order for it to continue. It has never said, I will only beat for you when you achieve more, when you fix the past, when you prove your worth. It has simply said yes, again and again, sending blood and warmth to every part of you, even the parts you criticize. If you like, you can place a hand lightly on your chest or simply imagine that you are doing so. Feel that movement beneath your palm, the steady rise and fall, the quiet thud. You are alive. That alone is extraordinary. For a few breaths, you can let this be enough. Now let your attention spread through your back. The upper back, where tension often knots between the shoulder blades. The middle back, which holds you upright when you sit or stand. The lower back, which carries bags, chairs, the weight of hours. Feel how the bed supports all of this. Imagine your back as a field that has spent all day under harsh sun, finally touched by cool evening. The muscles may not release all at once, but with each exhale, see if they can soften a little more into the surface beneath them. You are allowed to be carried. You do not have to hold yourself up right now. The mattress, the floor, the building, the earth itself are doing that for you. Let your awareness move down into your belly. This area has heard every anxious thought, every jolt of fear, every pang of sadness. It has tightened when life felt uncertain. It has fluttered when you were excited or in love. Without judging its shape or size, notice how it feels as you breathe. When you inhale, it may rise slightly like a small wave. When you exhale, it falls. Many people carry shame or criticism here, tangled around this part of the body like vines. Tonight you can offer it a kinder gaze. This is where you digest food, where you transform what the world gives you into energy. It is also where, in many traditions, a deep center of calm can be felt. You do not have to chase that calm. You can simply feel the gentle movement in and out, rising and falling, and let the belly be exactly as it is, held by the bed, held by the dark, held by your own soft awareness. Let your attention flow into your hips and pelvis, the sturdy hinge that lets you sit, stand, walk, bend. These places have stored old fears, old bracing, times you wanted to run, times you felt you had to stay, times you stood your ground. Without needing to dig into stories, just feel their weight. Let them sink into the mattress as if the bed were soft earth and you were settling a little deeper into a safe hollow. From there, drift down your thighs, your knees, your calves, your ankles, all the way to your feet. These feet have carried you through every chapter, across streets and floors, into rooms that changed your life, out of situations that hurt you, through days when you did not want to get up and did anyway. They have been pressed into shoes, pushed to keep going when they were tired. Notice them now. Are they warm or cool? Relaxed or slightly tense? Imagine your feet resting in warm, gentle sand at the edge of a quiet sea. Each breath out, a small wave passes over them, washing away a layer of tension grain by grain. They do not have to take another step tonight. They have brought you all the way here. This is far enough. Now see if you can feel your whole body at once, from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, like a single shape resting in the dark. Not a collection of problems, not a project, not a list of things to improve. Just a living, breathing being who has passed through many days and many stories and has arrived at this night. It may help to imagine your body as a small boat on a calm lake. The water is your breath, lifting you slightly with each inhale, lowering you with each exhale. The shore is close. You do not have to row. You do not have to steer. You are simply floating, held by forces that have been at work since long before you were born. As you lie here, thoughts may still arise, images from the stories, faces from your own life, snatches of worry. That is natural. Each time you notice you have climbed back into the old roads of what if, or wandered into the old rooms of regret, or reached for the ladder of becoming, you do not need to scold yourself. Just gently guide your attention back into this temple. The weight of your body, the movement of your breath, the soft beating in your chest. You are practicing coming home, not to an idea of who you should be, but to the simple, undeniable reality of what you are in this moment. A human being, tired, breathing, held. In the next part of our journey, we will let this sense of being held deepen even further, like a river that grows wider and slower as it nears the sea. We will begin to let words thin out, leaving more space for silence and sleep to enter. For now, stay a little longer in this quiet house of your body. Feel how, even without doing anything, it continues to serve you. Allow a small, sincere whisper of thanks to rise toward it if you wish. Then let even that gratitude soften into pure presence as you drift further into the peaceful, grounding darkness of this night. From the quiet temple of your body where we just walked slowly from head to toe, our path now moves towards something even simpler. Up to this point, you have been the one doing, listening, remembering, gently guiding your attention, softening your muscles, noticing your breath. Now you are invited to let something else do the work. Instead of walking, you will be carried. Instead of trying to reach sleep, you will let sleep come to you, the way a river comes to meet a leaf resting on its surface. Imagine without effort that your body is lying on a small, gentle raft. The raft is sturdy, made of smooth wood, just wide enough to hold you comfortably. It does not wobble. It does not drift wildly. Beneath it, a slow river moves through a wide valley under the night sky. The air is mild. The banks are lined with soft grasses and trees that watch in silence as you pass. You are not rowing. You are not steering. You are simply lying there, feeling the slight sway of the water. The way the raft rises a little with each invisible swell, then settles again. Feel again the weight of your body on the bed. This is your raft. The mattress holds you from below, the blanket or the air rests on you from above. There is nowhere you need to go tonight. You have already traveled through so many inner landscapes. Now the current of rest is flowing on its own. Your breath is the river. When you breathe in, it is as if the water lifts you gently, supporting you. When you breathe out, it is as if you sink a little deeper into safety. You do not have to change your breath. Let it move at its own pace. You are just feeling its rhythm. Thoughts may still walk to the edge of the river. Some of them carry worries in their hands. Some carry small memories. Some hold the old banners of not enough, or what if, or if only. They stand there on the banks calling out to you. This is what they have always done. In the past, you may have jumped from the raft to join them, following them up and down the shore, arguing, pleading, trying to solve everything before you allowed yourself to rest. Tonight, you can practice something different. You can let the raft keep drifting. You can see those thoughts on the bank and simply nod to them as if to say, I know you. I will meet you another time. Right now, I am being carried. When a thought tugs at you, notice what happens in your body. Perhaps your chest tightens, or your stomach clenches, or your jaw wants to grip again. This is the moment when, in the past, you might have rolled over, checked your phone, tensed against the night. Now imagine that the river hears that tension too. It deepens a little under your raft, making the water under you thicker, more supportive. Your next exhale can ride on that deeper stream, as if the river is saying, I have you. You do not need to stand up and handle everything right now. You might remember the monk with the stone of the world. Earlier, we imagined setting that stone down on the ground beside the bed. Now you can picture it sitting quietly on the riverbank as you float by. It has not vanished. The world's pain has not suddenly ended, but you are not carrying it in your hands at this hour. You are one tired traveler on a wide river, allowed to rest even while the mountains and villages keep their silent watch. You might remember Renyo sitting in the garden with the teacher asking if he was failing. His old question, am I enough, may rise again in you. It is a habit, a well-worn thought. See it standing on the shore like a familiar figure. You do not have to push it away or argue with it. You can simply feel the raft under you, the breath moving, and whisper inwardly, not now. Not while I am on the water. There will be time in the daylight to choose what kind of effort you want to make, from care instead of fear. For tonight, your only job is to be the bell that rests between its ringings. You might remember the brothers meeting on the narrow road after years of carrying a hot coal of anger. Perhaps someone in your own life still tugs at your heart. Their face appears for a moment in the dark. Instead of gripping the coal again, imagine that the river water moves between your fingers, cooling them. You can hold the image of that person gently, without the old tightness, just for a breath. You do not have to decide anything tonight. You do not have to forgive or confront or solve. You are simply allowing your heart to rest from being a courtroom for a few hours. Taro's road of what if may still run along the banks. He could be there in your mind, pacing, pointing at storm clouds, shouting about future floods. You can let him walk. You can even smile at him. Then you return your attention to the simple splash of water against the raft, to the steady in and out of your breath. In this moment, the fields of your life, whatever state they are in, do not need you to patrol them. The seeds will not grow faster if you lose sleep imagining disasters. The river knows how to carry you whether you worry or not. Hana's hallway of rooms may appear in your thoughts, doors ajar, memories flickering. If you feel yourself walking down that hallway, notice that the raft rocks a little, as if reminding you it is still here. You can step back onto it. You can choose for this night not to stand in front of the harshest picture of your life. You have honored it many times. The pain has been seen. Now you can allow your nervous system the medicine of forgetting for a while. Sleep is not betrayal. It is the body's way of sweeping the dust from the corners of your mind. Kaito's ladder, with all its rungs of self-improvement, may appear as a tall shape on one bank. Perhaps part of you whispers, even now, I should be using this time better. I should be practicing a perfect technique. I should be getting the most out of this rest. Hear that voice. Thank it for its enthusiasm. Then remember Mrs. Maury's garden. Remember the small plant taking its time. You are allowed to lie here as a growing thing, not as a project management chart. The river does not ask you for a report. It only asks you to float. Daiichi's hill may rise on the other side of the water, the sky above it painted with the fading colors of sunset. He sits there sometimes feeling for a breath, that what he has is enough. As you pass, you can borrow that feeling even for a moment. For this breath, for this position, for this bit of softness under you and air above you, you can quietly agree this is enough. Not forever. Not for every part of life. Just for now. Notice how, as we gather all these lives along the riverbanks, your own breathing may have slowed. Your limbs may feel heavier, as if filled with warm sand. Your hands and feet may seem farther away from your center, your awareness shrinking gently toward your chest or your belly, where the breath moves like a small light in a deep place. This is the river doing its work. Each exhale is a tiny letting go of the day, of the stories, of the effort to control anything beyond this moment. If you find yourself wondering, am I asleep yet? That is just another figure on the shore, a little guard who wants to monitor even your rest. You can pat them on the head in your mind and say, you can go home too. The river does not need a manager. The bed does not need an inspector. Your heart and lungs know how to keep moving when your attention takes its own rest. The sky above the river grows darker now. Stars appear one by one, not demanding to be named. They simply shine. Your thoughts, too, may grow more scattered, less logical. You may catch only pieces of these words. They may begin to blend with your own inner images. This is natural. It means the raft is nearing the wider part of the water, where the current is slower and the banks are harder to see. You are moving closer to the sea of sleep, where the mind no longer needs to follow a straight path. In the parts to come, if you are still with the sound of this voice, we will say less and leave more space. Space for your own dreaming mind to begin its work. Space for your body to repair quietly. Space for silence to deepen like water at night. For now, feel once more the contact between your body and the bed. Feel one more gentle breath move in and out. Imagine the raft rocking you, the river carrying you, the bank sliding by. You do not have to arrive anywhere. You are already on the water. You are already being held. Let that be enough as you drift further and further still into the soft, waiting dark. From the wide river that has been carrying you, we drift now into a place where the banks begin to fade and even the sound of the water grows softer. You are still lying where you were. The same body, the same bed, the same room. Yet something inside you has shifted. The effort that once pressed behind your eyes, the tightness that once gripped your chest, may feel a little more distant now, as if you have walked several rooms away from the noise. Often when people lie down to sleep, they think they must force themselves into silence. They try to shut off their thoughts like turning off a lamp. When that does not work, they feel they are failing even at resting. Zen suggests something different. Instead of trying to slam the door on your own mind, you simply keep walking step by step toward a quieter part of the house. The thoughts may still talk in other rooms, but they grow fainter as you move further in. Tonight you have been walking inward for some time. You stepped away from the stone of the world. You loosened your grip on the coal of anger. You sat beside Renyo and Hana and Kaito and Daichi, as they each discovered softer ways of seeing their lives. You returned to the temple of your body, felt it resting. You lay down on the raft and let the river take you. Now you stand at the threshold of a deeper quiet, one that does not depend on solving anything, one that does not ask you to make any promises about tomorrow. It only asks you to be here. Feel again the simple contact points between you and the bed, the back of your head, your shoulders, your back, your hips, your legs, your heels. Each place the mattress touches you is like a hand laid gently under you saying, I am here. I will hold you. You do not have to hold yourself. Notice how your breath has its own slow rhythm now. It may be longer. It may be shorter. There is no right pattern. The body knows what it needs. When thoughts arise, as they still may, you can place them gently on that rhythm like leaves on the surface of a pond. A thought comes. You notice it. You feel a breath move in and out. The thought drifts a little further away. Another comes, another breath, another small letting go. There is nothing you must hold on to. If you feel tempted to follow a thought, to climb inside it and start walking its corridors, ask yourself one quiet question. Is this thought something I can act on right now, from this bed in this night? If the answer is no, you are free to let it go by. Not forbidden, just not required, unnecessary to carry any further in this moment. Imagine, if you like, that you have reached a small house by the river's edge. It is simple, a low roof, a door made of wood, a soft light inside. This house is a part of you. It has always been here, but you may not visit it often. Tonight, as your raft bumps gently against the shore, the door opens without you needing to reach for the handle. Inside, there is only one room. A pallet on the floor. A small window where the night sky can be seen. A low table with nothing on it. The emptiness of the room is not cold, it is kind. There are no reminders here, no tools, no lists, no symbols of who you are to other people. In this house, you are not a worker, a parent, a child, a partner, a student, a leader, a fixer. You are just a breathing, resting human being. You step inside in your imagination and lie down on the simple pallet in that room. At the same time, your real body lies where it is, on your own bed. The two images blend. The quiet of the house becomes the quiet of your chest. The stillness of the small room becomes the stillness of the space around your body. In this inner house, you might imagine that all the characters we have met tonight rest too. Haru, who once tried to carry the world, sits outside on the step, eyes closed, no stone in his hands. Renyo, who once compared himself to every other leaf on the tree, now leans against the wall, feeling the same breeze that touches the bright leaves above. The brothers, who once held on to anger, now sit shoulder to shoulder, saying little, the space between them no longer filled with heat. Taro, who once walked the road of what if, now feels the actual earth under his feet, the coolness of the evening air on his skin. Hana closes the door to her painful room for the night and lets other memories breathe. Kaito sits on a rung of his ladder, not climbing, looking at the stars. Daichi stands on his hill, the word enough resting gently in his chest. They are all, in their own way, lying down inside you. Their lessons do not ask for more thought. They do not demand to be analyzed. They simply add a little weight to the feeling that it is safe to rest. You are not alone in learning how to lay things down. Many have walked this path before you. Many are walking it tonight, in houses and apartments and beds all over the world, turning away from screens, from worries, from old stories, and turning toward the simple act of closing their eyes and letting go. The night is like a vast blanket spread over them all, over you too. As you lie here, you may begin to feel that your edges are a little less sharp. Your sense of where your body ends and the air begins may blur. This is not something to fear. It is often what happens as you drift toward sleep. The mind, which is used to drawing lines between me and not me, begins to ease its grip. You feel less like a solid block and more like a cloud of sensations, gently gathered together, floating in a larger softness. You are still held. You are still safe. You are simply looser, less rigid, easier to cradle. If a part of you still feels watchful, still wants to stay awake to guard the door of this small house, you can speak to it kindly. This watcher has worked hard for you. It has stayed alert through many nights when you needed it. You do not have to push it away. You can thank it. You can say inwardly, you have done so much. You have stayed on duty for years. Tonight you may take a lighter shift. You do not have to stand with your back to the door. You can sit down, you can lean against the wall, you can even close your eyes. If anything truly needs your attention, the body will wake you. You do not have to hover above every breath. Often when the watcher feels acknowledged, it relaxes. The shoulders drop a little more. The breath becomes even softer. The thoughts become less like loud voices and more like distant murmurs that you can barely make out. As this happens, you might find that images from your own life or from the stories begin to blend together. The river flows through your old classroom. The rooftop garden grows on a hill above your town. The small bookshop appears beside the fields. Do not try to organize these scenes. Let them come and go as they wish. You are already close to dreaming. The bridge between waking and sleep is made of such strange mixtures. You are crossing it naturally now. There is nothing to fix about your pace. It does not matter how far along the bridge you are. Even lying down at the start of it, feeling the first hints of its quiet, is already a form of rest. Your nervous system is unwinding. The tightly coiled rope of the day is loosening, strand by strand. You may notice small twitches in your hands or feet as muscles release. You may feel yourself jerk awake once or twice as you begin to fall inward. This is normal. The body is adjusting. Each time you can simply breathe and let yourself lie back down into the dark. The house of quiet is not going anywhere. It waits for you with infinite patience. In the parts that follow, if you are still listening, we will speak even more softly. There will be fewer images, more pauses, more space for the heavy, healing sleep that is already reaching toward you. For now, feel this simple truth. You have walked a long way inside and outside in your life and in this night. You have carried many things. You have tried very hard in ways few people fully see. At this moment, you are allowed to stop, not forever. Just now. You are allowed to lie in this inner house, under this wide, kind sky, and let the deep quiet rise around you like water in a still pool, holding you weightless, as you drift closer and closer to the place where even words fall asleep. From the small inner house where you have finally lain down, where the watcher by the door has been invited to rest, we move now into a part of the night where almost nothing more is required of you. Up until now, there were teachings tucked into the stories. There were gentle questions. There were images of stones, ladders, rivers, hills. All of these were like soft lights along a path, guiding you away from the sharp edges of the day and toward a quieter place inside yourself. You have followed them as far as you need to for tonight. Now the path widens into something more like an open field. There are fewer signs, fewer words, more sky, more space. You do not have to do anything with this space. You do not have to fill it. It is here to hold you, not the other way around. Feel once more how your body is lying. The room may be dark, yet you can sense the outline of yourself, the curve of your back, the slope of your shoulders, the length of your legs. All of you supported, all of you resting on something solid. The bed beneath you is like a gentle hand you do not have to think about. You do not wonder if it will keep holding you, it simply does. In the same way, this night is holding you. The hours ahead, however many they are, do not need to be managed. You do not have to measure them. You do not have to ask, How many hours of sleep will I get if I fall asleep now? That counting only wakes the mind back up. Instead, you can let go of numbers as if they were small stones you have been keeping in your pockets. They are not needed in this field. You have already stepped onto the soft grass. You are already lying down. Your breath is your blanket. Notice its movement again, in and out. It may now feel less like something you are doing and more like something happening on its own. The body is breathing you. It has taken over the work. You are the one being breathed. Each inhale is an invitation to stay here, in this moment, in this body. Each exhale is a tiny release, a small bow to everything you do not have to control. The mind may still now and then send up small flares, a memory, a worry, a line from one of the stories, a random fragment. See these for what they are. Sparks that rise for a moment and then fade into the dark. They do not need to ignite anything. You do not have to blow them out. You can simply watch them appear and disappear. Between each spark is more darkness. Not an empty darkness, but a soft one like velvet. Like the inside of a quiet room with curtains drawn and candles blown out. This darkness is not against you. It is not hiding enemies. It is a place where your senses can finally stop reaching outward. They can fold in, like the petals of a flower at dusk. If you notice your ears straining for sounds, you can let them rest. There may be faint noises outside the window. A car, the wind, a refrigerator, the breathing of someone else in the house. You do not have to identify them all. You do not have to react. Let them be part of the far background like distant waves on a shore you are no longer walking. If you notice your eyes moving under your closed lids, that is all right. The body is preparing for dreams. You do not have to decide what to dream. That theater runs on its own. You are not the director tonight. You are simply the guest who will sit in the softest seat and then, at some point, not even watch. Just disappear into the story. There is a saying in some Zen circles that the deepest rest comes when you forget yourself. Not in a frightening sense. Not as if you are gone forever, but in the gentle way a child forgets themselves when they fall into deep sleep. They are not thinking of their name, their tasks, their worries. They have dropped them like toys on the floor and curled up in a safe corner of their inner world. You are allowed to do the same. The adult part of you, the one that keeps lists and holds responsibilities, has done enough for today. It has brought you here. It can put its tools down now. Imagine that you have a small basket beside your bed. In your mind, you place a few things into it before you sleep. Your role, worker, parent, child, friend, partner, student, helper. Your concerns, health, finances, relationships, plans. You do not sort them, you do not judge them, you simply place them in the basket as if they were objects you have been carrying in your arms all day. You set the basket on the floor, it will be there in the morning. Nothing inside it will be lost. The part of you that loves to pick these things up can do so when the sun is back. For now, your arms are empty. Your chest is free to rise and fall without weight pressing down on it. In this emptier state, you might feel something else underneath. A softer hum, a kind of quiet presence that is not anxious, not striving, not regretting. It is the part of you that has been listening all along, through every story, through every day of your life. The awareness that noticed the stone, the coal, the ladder, the river. The awareness that notices your breath. That awareness does not need to prove anything. It never did. It is like the sky above all the changing weather. Clouds come and go, storms and clear days, but the sky remains. Tonight you are resting not only your body, but your sense of being the one who must fix everything. You are letting that awareness sink back into itself, like the sky turning completely dark after the last color of sunset fades. If you like, you can silently repeat a simple phrase with your next few breaths. Nothing complicated, just Here I rest. Breathing in, here. Breathing out, I rest. Or if other words feel more natural, you can use those. I am safe enough for now, or I can let go for now, or simply, enough. You do not have to force these phrases. Let them be like a quiet lullaby hummed under your breath. After a few repetitions, you can let even these words go. The body will keep breathing. The night will keep holding you. You will not fall out of yourself if you stop narrating. As you sink deeper, you may feel small shifts that signal the approach of sleep. Your limbs may feel heavier as if they are made of warm sand. Your thoughts may break apart mid-sentence. You may find that you cannot remember the beginning of a sentence by the time you reach the end of it. You may drift away from the sound of this voice and then come back, like a boat moving in and out of earshot of a shore. All of this is welcome. All of this is part of the gentle, natural descent into the deep quiet your system has been needing. There is no finish line you have to cross. No clear moment where you must say, now I am officially asleep. The transition is more like dusk than a light switch. You are already in the fading light. Night is already around you. Sleep will come through this half-light in its own way. In the remaining parts of this journey, there will be even more space and fewer images. They are not meant to keep you fully awake. They are like someone sitting beside your bed speaking softly until your breathing tells them you have slipped away. At that point, the words become part of your dreams or fall away entirely. For now, allow yourself this simple kindness. Decide gently that there is nothing left in this day that you need to fix with your mind. Nothing left you need to rehearse. Nothing left you need to hold. You can place it all in the basket by your bed. You can lie back in the field of the night. You can let the darkness, the quiet, the steady pulse of your own heart be enough. You are here. You are breathing. You are allowed to rest. From the wide field of night that now holds you, where your rolls are resting in the basket by your bed and your breath moves on its own, we step together into a place that is very close to sleep. A borderland where waking and dreaming begin to touch. You are still aware enough to hear these words, but you may notice that they do not land as sharply as before. They drift past like soft clouds instead of stones. This is a good sign. It means your mind is loosening its grip on the need to understand and is beginning to sink into the deeper rhythm of rest. In this place, we do not need new lessons. We do not need to introduce more characters or untangle more questions. Everything that needed to be said for tonight has been said. You have walked with monks and farmers and merchants and gardeners and teachers, and through each of them you have met parts of yourself. The one who carries too much. The one who doubts their worth. The one who clings to old hurt. The one who fears the future. The one who replays the past. The one who climbs ladders without end. The one who never feels there is enough. The one who forgets their body until it hurts. All of these inner figures have been invited to sit down. They may not all be quiet yet, but they are closer to putting their tools away. Now, more than anything, you are invited simply to feel. Feel the heaviness of your limbs. Feel how your arms lie where they lie, no longer needing to reach, to point, to carry. Feel how your legs stretch out or curl as they prefer, no longer needing to walk or stand or hold tension. Feel your spine resting, each vertebra supported, no longer required to keep you upright, to present you to the world. You are not standing before anyone right now. You are not in front of a crowd or a boss or a screen or a mirror. You are horizontal, like a log on the forest floor, like a boat tied safely at the dock, like a cloud stretched across the sky. The world you meet when you are awake is mostly vertical. Lines of buildings, columns of text, stacks of tasks, people moving up and down, rushing here and there. In sleep, everything becomes horizontal. The lines of the day lie down, thoughts lie down, the body lies down. You become part of the horizon between earth and sky, part of the quiet line where light and dark meet. Notice how, as you rest, your sense of time may be changing. During the day, minutes often feel sharp. You look at the clock. You count the hours. You divide your life into pieces, measuring how much you did or did not do. Here, at the edge of dreaming, time feels less like a ruler and more like a soft wave. A few seconds can stretch wide. 10 minutes can pass without leaving much trace. You may listen for a while and then suddenly realize you do not remember the last few sentences. That drifting is not a mistake. It is the beginning of the deep rest you came here to find. Let it happen. Each time you notice you have drifted, you do not need to pull yourself back sharply. You can return as gently as a leaf returning to the surface of water after being pushed under by a small ripple. The stories of earlier parts may float up in new ways now. You might see the monk's stone resting at the bottom of a clear pool. You might see the brother's hot coal cooling into a smooth, dark pebble. You might see Taro's road of what if growing grass through its cracks, fewer feet walking there. You might see Hana's inner hallway with more doors open, warm lamplights spilling from rooms that had been dark. You might see Kaito's ladder leaned against a wall, unused for the night, as someone sits at its base watching fireflies. You might see Daiichi's hill under a sky that is now full of stars instead of sunset. Enough shining in the simple fact that the night exists at all. You do not need to hold these images clearly. Let them be soft. They are not tasks. They are like distant lanterns seen from a moving train. Small points of light that reassure you that others are also awake to the gentle truths you're learning, even as you are allowed to sleep. Your body continues to prepare itself. Your temperature may drop a little. Your breathing may become slower and more even. The muscles in your face and hands may let go in tiny stages you barely notice. If you feel a sudden jerk as if you are falling and wake for a moment, know that this too is natural. The body sometimes checks its boundaries on the way down, like a swimmer briefly touching the sides of the pool before sinking into a deeper float. Each time you can reassure yourself, I am safe enough. I am lying down. The bed is here. The night is around me. Then you can allow yourself to sink again. If even now a thought tries to rush in with urgency, perhaps saying, we forgot this, we must remember that, you can meet it the way you might meet a child who has come out of their room after bedtime. You do not scold harshly. You do not launch into a long conversation. You kneel down, look into their eyes and say softly, it is time to sleep now. We can talk about this in the morning. Then you lead them back to bed with a steady hand. You can do the same with your thoughts. Acknowledge them kindly. Promise if it feels right that you will give them attention in the light of day. Then invite them to lie down, too. There is room in this night for every part of you to rest. Imagine for a moment that the entire world around you is also lying down. The tall buildings have turned into sleeping giants. The streets are like quiet rivers where only a few late boats pass. In houses and apartments, many other people are closing their eyes, their bodies seeking the same deep reset. Some slept easily. Some struggled and then finally let go. Some are just now turning toward the softness you are entering. You are one sleeper among many. There is a strange comfort in this. Even if you feel alone, you are part of a vast, silent community of resting hearts. Their breaths and yours rise and fall under the same sky. Their dreams and yours float in the same deep sea. You do not need to know their names for this to be true. As you picture this, notice whether any last bits of tension are left in you. Maybe in your hands, maybe in your forehead, maybe in your belly. You do not have to root them out. Simply breathe toward them, as if your breath were a warm breeze moving through tall grass, bending it gently. Each exhale can be a small invitation. You can say inwardly, if you are ready, you may soften now. If you are not ready, I will still be here, still breathing, still resting. There is no force in this, only permission. On the very edge of dreaming, it is common for the mind to begin weaving images that do not make sense. A doorway floating in a river. A friend speaking in a room that never existed. Colors that have no name. Do not chase them, let them come closer. Let them wrap around these words until the two blend together. Voice and dream. Story and sleep. Conscious and unconscious. The bridge between them is growing narrower. You are almost across. In the final parts ahead, if you are still with me, you will hear even fewer words. There will be more silence, more room for your own mind to create what it needs for healing. For now, it is enough to know this. You have walked far enough for tonight. You have listened deeply. You have been honest with yourself in quiet ways. You have allowed, perhaps more than usual, the idea that you deserve rest not because you have done everything right, but because you are alive and tired and human. Let that be the last clear thought before even these sentences dissolve. You are on the edge of dreaming now, standing at a doorway that opens not onto another busy day, but onto a soft, dark room where the bed is wide, the blankets are warm, and the only task is to lie down and disappear into the kindness of sleep. When you are ready, you may step through. From the doorway at the edge of dreaming, where you now stand with one foot in waking and one foot already in the soft dark, we move into a part of the night where even stories begin to feel heavy and ready to lie down. Up until now, the words have been like gentle hands, guiding you from room to room, from thought to thought, from old habits toward softer ground. Here, in this deeper stretch of night, you are no longer being asked to follow a path. You are being invited to simply sink, like a stone lowered carefully into calm water until the surface closes over it and everything grows quiet. You may notice that it is harder to hold on to each sentence. Your attention drifts more quickly. A word appears, and before you can think much about it, it is gone. Images flicker and blend. This is not a problem to fix. It is a sign that the part of your mind that clings and analyzes is finally getting drowsy. Imagine that all the stories we have walked through are now gathered in a circle around you. Haru with his stone, Renyo with his leaf, the brothers on their road, Taro on his path, Hana in her bookshop, Kaito on the rooftop, Daichi on his hill, even the monk sweeping the temple and the gardener tending the small plant. They are not speaking anymore. They are not teaching. They are simply sitting in the twilight, their faces soft, their eyes half closed. They have done their work for this night. They have shown you that you are not alone in your struggles. They have offered you new ways to see your pain, your worry, your effort. Now they too are tired. One by one they lie down on the ground around you, as if this wide inner field has become a campsite at the end of a long day. No fires, no tasks, just bodies settling into the earth, into blankets, into simple rest. You are in the center of that circle, not as the one who must keep everyone safe, but as another traveler who has walked far and is finally ready to stop. Feel again the weight of your body on the bed, as if you are lying in the very middle of that field, the sky above you, the earth below. The quiet forms of your own inner characters resting nearby. There is nothing left for you to do for them. They do not need you to hold their stories. They do not need you to remember every lesson. You can trust that whatever in these tales was meant to stay with you has already sunk below the surface of thought, like seeds planted in soil you will not see for a while. You do not need to dig them up tonight. Your breath continues its slow rhythm. In, out, in, out. Each inhale feels a little shallower now, each exhale a little longer, like a sigh that does not need a reason. The muscles in your face may have lost their sharpness. Your lips may part slightly. Your hands may rest in whatever position they have chosen, no longer supervised by your mind. You do not need to arrange yourself. The body finds its own way into sleep, the way a cat circles a few times and then drops into a perfect curl without thinking about angles or posture. If thoughts still wander through, they are likely softer now, half-formed sentences, strange combinations, a face you know in a place you do not. Let them pass. You are no longer the host greeting each one at the door. You are a guest in a larger house, one where thoughts come and go on their own. While you lie in a quiet room somewhere inside, the door half closed, the light dim. You can picture, if you like, a small lantern at your bedside. Its flame is low, steady, not bright enough to keep you awake, just enough to make the darkness feel warm instead of empty. That lantern is your simple awareness, the part of you that knows you exist even when you are not doing anything in particular. It does not need to shine hard. It does not need to point at anything. It can sit on the little table by your bed, glowing softly, content to watch over you as you drift. Outside the window of this inner room, the night is wide. The sky is deep. Stars are scattered across it like quiet eyes. They do not ask where you are in your life. They do not ask what you did today. They do not ask if you have achieved enough or healed enough or changed enough. They are simply there, marking the great slow turning of the world, a turning that goes on whether you worry about it or not. You are allowed to be small under that sky. You are allowed to be for this night nothing more than a breathing body and a soft flicker of awareness folding into sleep. If a part of you still resists, still says, I should stay awake a little longer, I should think this through one more time, see if you can treat that voice like a last guest at a party who lingers at the door. You have been kind. You have listened. Now you are tired. You can say very gently, I am closing up for tonight. You are welcome to come back tomorrow, but for now I am going to bed. Then close the door. Turn down the lantern, turn toward the pillow. Let the rest of the world stand outside for a while. Your nervous system, which has been on guard for so many hours, is beginning to switch over to a different mode. The part that scans for danger, that keeps track of tasks, that watches for threat is stepping back. The part that repairs, that cleans, that weaves memory and feeling together in dreams is stepping forward. You do not have to supervise this change. It is like the changing of a guard you do not even see. You only feel the result. Heaviness in your limbs, a sense of falling inward, brief surges of images without clear meaning. If you sense that falling feeling, let it take you. You are not falling into emptiness. You are falling into a deep pool that has been waiting all along. A pool made of rest, of silence, of the body's own slow work of healing. You can trust it. It has carried you through so many nights before this one. Even the nights when you thought you did not sleep much, some part of you was held by it. There is nothing left to earn tonight. No more insight you must reach before you are allowed to sleep. No final thought that will make everything perfect. Perfection is not the doorway to rest. Surrender is. Surrender does not mean giving up on your life. It means for these hours giving up the belief that you must hold it in your hands every second. You can set it down on the bedside table with the lantern, like a book you have been reading for a long time. You place a marker between the pages. You close the cover. You know you will return to it. For now, the story will wait. You can let your own story wait too. As you drift, you might notice moments where everything seems to drop away, and then you return suddenly, startled, not sure how much time has passed. Those drops are little doors into deeper layers of sleep. Each time they come, you can let yourself fall through them more fully. There is no need to cling to the edge. The bed is still beneath you. The night is still around you. Your heart still beats. Your lungs still move. Life itself is rocking you, the way a parent rocks a child, steady and patient even when the child fights sleep. You have fought hard enough. Now you can be the one who finally lets their head rest on a shoulder they trust. Whether you are fully asleep by now or still hovering near the threshold, you are far from where you began. The noise is behind you. The questions have quieted. The teachings have curled up on the grass. You are here, at the soft center of this night where even the stories sleep, and there is nothing left for you to do but follow them into the dark, peaceful silence that has been waiting all along to hold you until morning. From the circle where even the stories have lain down to sleep, we turn now toward something very wide and very quiet. Up until this point, we have stayed close to your own inner rooms, your thoughts, your memories, your body. Now, as your mind grows softer and your breath moves slowly in your chest, you are invited to feel how your rest is not separate from the rest of the world. You are one person, in one room, on one bed. And yet, around you, an entire living earth is also exhaling. Imagine, as if you could rise gently above your bed, that your awareness floats a little way up, like a small, soft cloud. You look down and see yourself lying there. Your body, familiar and dear, stretched out or curled up in the position it has chosen. The slow rise and fall of your chest, the relaxed shape of your face. You do not judge what you see. You regard yourself the way a kind guardian might look at a sleeping child, with understanding, with patience, with no demand that they wake up and do anything at all. Now your view widens. You see the building you're in, other rooms, other beds. Behind closed doors, other people are lying down too. Some already sunk deep into sleep, their breathing heavy and regular. Some turning over, chasing a comfortable position. Some with eyes still open, looking at the dark, their minds not yet ready to release the day. Each one has carried their own stones and ladders and roads of worry. Each one is trying, in their own way, to set something down. You do not know their stories, but you can feel that they exist, that they are tired too. Wider still, you see your street, your neighborhood, your town or city, lights glowing in some windows, dark in others. A few cars moving slowly along the roads. Perhaps a dog barking once, then quiet. A train in the distance. Somewhere someone is laughing softly in a kitchen. Somewhere someone is crying quietly into a pillow. Somewhere someone is reading one last page before turning off the lamp. All of them are under the same sky. All of them are being held by the same turning earth. If you float higher, you see fields and trees. Patches of forest that have gone dark, leaves no longer catching the sun but still in their own way, breathing. Taking in what you breathe out, giving back what you draw in. Invisible exchanges move between your body and those trees even while you sleep. No effort is needed from you. The rhythm of nature continues. Rivers move through the landscape. Hills become dark shapes against the horizon. Mountains stand, the snow on their tops glowing faintly in starlight. They do nothing. They simply are. For thousands of years they have watched the world move through days and nights, storms and calm, without trying to hold it all together. They are allowed to stand still. You are allowed for this night to lie still. Further still, and you see oceans. Vast surfaces moving in slow, steady patterns even when no one is there to watch them. Waves lift and fall like the breathing of the planet. Somewhere far away on those waters a ship rocks, its crew also needing sleep. Somewhere near a quiet shore, water laps at sand that remembers 1,000 other nights. The world is not waiting for your plans. It is not demanding that you stay awake to keep it turning. It has its own immense momentum. You are carried within it. Then your attention, which has been floating so wide, begins to return. Like a breath being drawn back in, down past the clouds, past the mountains and rivers, past the roofs and windows, back into your own room, back into the bed where your body lies, back into the small warm space behind your ribs where your heart beats its steady rhythm. Nothing has really changed, and yet something feels different. The tightness that says everything depends on me may be a little looser. You have seen how much is happening without your control. How much will continue gently whether you lie awake or sleep. As you breathe now, you might imagine that with each inhale you are taking in a little of that wide calm. The calm of mountains that do not rush. The calm of forests that breathe steadily through each season. The calm of oceans that keep their deep currents moving beneath the surface storms. With each exhale, you are letting go of the belief that you must manage everything alone. A small portion of that burden leaves your body each time. Like mist fading into the night air, you might remember the monk with the stone. Earlier, we set that stone down on the ground. Now you can imagine the earth itself taking it, pressing it slowly into the soil, making it part of something larger. Your sorrows, your worries, your efforts are not meaningless, but they are not required to sit in your hands all night. They can sink into the wider story of this world, which has carried countless lives and countless problems before yours and will carry countless more after. You might think of Renyo and his longing to be praised. Picture him now as one leaf among countless leaves on the great tree of life. Each leaf drinking light, each leaf doing its quiet work. In the same way, your worth is not determined by whether anyone sees you in this moment. Not by your productivity, not by your perfection. You are one breathing part of a whole breathing world. That is enough for now. You might think of the brothers finally meeting in the valley after years apart. Their story is one among millions of stories of anger and reconciliation unfolding on this planet. Tonight, you do not have to solve all of them. You do not have to decide the ending of your own. You can allow your heart to be one heart among many, pulsing with hurt and hope, and for these hours allowed to simply beat in peace. You might think of Taro and his road of what if. Somewhere right now someone is pacing their own road, wearing grooves into their thoughts. Perhaps earlier tonight that someone was you. Now as you lie here, you have stepped off that road, even if only a few steps. You are resting by the side, feeling the actual ground beneath you instead of walking in circles in your mind. Thousands of others in this same hour are making the same choice, to worry a little less, to breathe a little more. You are not alone in learning this. You might think of Hannah, whose pain over her lost classroom was eased when she realized her influence lived on in her students. Your own impact, too, is carried forward in people you may never see again, in ways you will never fully know. You do not have to keep checking whether your life has mattered. It has, simply by touching other lives at all. The results of that touch are now part of the wider weave of the world. You can rest inside that weave. You might think of Kaito and his ladder, and of Daichi and his hill. Somewhere in many cities and villages, people are closing their notebooks, setting down their plans and letting themselves, for a few hours, stop trying to become better and simply be as they are. You are part of that quiet rebellion too. For this night, you are stepping out of the endless ladder and standing on the solid ground of enough. Feel again your breath. In, out, in, out. Imagine that with every inhale, you are breathing with others. Not in a mystical way, but in a very simple, physical sense. The air you draw in has moved through trees, through animals, through other people. The air you breathe out will be taken up by life around you. You are never completely separate. Even in your most private worries, you have always been part of a shared rhythm. Tonight, you are joining that rhythm more consciously, letting your breath match the slow, deep pattern of a world that, at this hour, is mostly sleeping. If a thought arises that says, "I have not done enough to deserve this rest," you can answer it the way the mountains might answer if they could speak. With silence. With simple, steady being. The mountain does not ask if it has earned its place. The tree does not earn its right to stand. The ocean does not justify each wave. They exist. They move. They rest. You too exist. You too move and rest. No further permission is needed from the busy part of your mind. As this understanding settles, you may feel your body melt a little more into what holds it. The line between your side and the mattress, your back and the sheets becomes less sharp. The feeling of being a separate, hard thing begins to soften into the feeling of being part of a larger softness, like a small stone at the bottom of a lake, like a single note in a long, quiet song. Soon, if it has not happened already, the thread that keeps these words clear will grow thin. They will become just another sound in the background of your dreams. Or they will fade entirely as you drop into a deeper, wordless rest. That is as it should be. This part of the journey is not about learning. It is about disappearing gently into the same deep sleep that has carried countless beings before you. For now, there is only this. You, breathing, the world breathing, night spread over everything like a vast dark wing. You are under that wing. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to sleep. You are allowed to be for these hours, nothing more and nothing less than a small, precious part of a great resting whole, from the wide sense that the whole world is breathing with you, from the mountains and oceans and sleeping cities that all seem to exhale together. We move now into the quietest part of this journey. Up until this point, there has still been a small thread of doing. You listened. You followed images. You gently guided your attention back when it wandered. Even that is a kind of effort. Very light, very simple, but still a way of participating. Now, even that can begin to fade. You are not being asked to do anything more. You are only being invited to allow what is already happening. Notice, without changing anything, how far you have already come from the start of this night. Then the mind might have been loud. The body might have felt restless or tight. Thoughts may have rushed like traffic. Now the traffic is thinner. The streets are quieter. There may still be a few thoughts moving through, but there is more space between them. More silence around them. Your breath has become a slow, steady companion. It moves on its own, like a tide that continues even when no one watches the shore. Feel again the simple fact of lying down. There is something very ancient and very innocent about this posture. Every creature that sleeps eventually finds some version of it. A bird folds its wings and settles into the curve of a branch. A cat curls on a warm spot. A child collapses sideways halfway through a sentence. Even the tallest tree leans into night, its leaves stilling, its sap slowing its rise. You too have assumed the universal shape of rest. Back or side or curled or stretched, your body has chosen the form that feels closest to surrender. You do not need to improve it. You do not need to find the perfect position. Sleep will come whether you are perfectly arranged or a little crooked. If a part of you is still checking, still asking, am I relaxed enough yet? Am I doing this right? See if you can let that part know that the work of this day is over. It has done its best. It has tried to keep you on track, to keep you safe, to keep you improving. You can thank it quietly. You might say inwardly, you have done enough for today. Take off your shoes. Hang up your coat. Come and lie down with the rest of me. There is no more schedule tonight. No more test. No more standard to meet. Imagine that every task you did today is a small lamp that has been burning in a large hall. One by one, you walk through that hall and gently turn each lamp off. The errands. Click. The conversations. Click. The work. Click. The messages. Click. The moments when you tried to be strong for others. Click. The times you smiled when you were tired. Click. The decisions you made, big and small. Click. If any lamp tries to flare up again, wanting one last look, you can simply place a hand over it and whisper, tomorrow, not now. I will see you in daylight. Tonight, you belong to the dark that heals. As more and more of these inner lamps go out, the hall grows dim, not frightening, just quiet, soft. The only light left is a faint glow around where you are lying. The sense of being here, breathing, held. Even that light can lower now like the flame of a candle growing smaller as the wax melts. You do not disappear. You simply become less defined, less sharp. The edges of you blur into the surrounding night. You may notice small ripples of thought still moving through. They no longer feel like long stories. They are more like single words, images, unrelated scenes. A train car, a doorway, a face, a color. Let them come and go without trying to connect them. You are not the writer at this point. You are the page on which brief marks appear and then fade. Very soon, even the part of you that is reading those marks will grow drowsy and fall asleep. If worries try one last time to get your attention, they may sound something like this. What if I do not sleep enough? What if tomorrow is hard? What if I wake up tired? These are old habits of care dressed in anxious clothes. You can answer them with great gentleness, as if speaking to a friend who is pacing at the door late at night. You might say in your own quiet way, I hear you. You want me to be safe. Thank you. Right now, the best thing I can do for tomorrow is to rest. You can keep watch if you like, but you do not have to keep me awake. Then turn your attention back to the breath. In, out, in, out. At this depth of night, even the teachings of Zen become very simple. All day they may speak of emptiness and form, of letting go, of seeing through illusions. At bedtime they are reduced to something even more basic. Hungry, eat. Tired, sleep. You have already eaten whenever you did. Now you are tired, so let every layer of you from skin to bone receive the permission to sleep. Not as a luxury you have to earn, but as a basic kindness you are allowed. If it helps, you can picture that a soft, warm darkness is slowly rising in the room like water in a quiet well. It reaches your feet first, covering them in still, safe night. Then your calves, your knees, your thighs, your hips, your belly and lower back, your chest, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your neck. Finally, it reaches the crown of your head. You are completely submerged now, not in something cold or frightening, but in a deep, gentle silence. Sounds from outside become muffled, as if heard through walls of velvet. Thoughts that once shouted now sound far away, as if they are happening in another building, another town. In this darkness, you do not have to see yourself. You do not have to remember who you are to others. The names, the roles, the history can all float for a while outside of awareness. They will be there when you come back. For these hours, you can be nameless, timeless, simply a pulse and a breath in the great sea of sleep. Every once in a while, the mind may flare up and say, I am still here. I am still awake. Notice how even that flare is softer than before. It comes with less urgency. You might respond not with more thought, but with a simple physical gesture, a slightly deeper exhale, letting more air go like a sigh. The body understands sighs. They are the language of surrender. They say without words, I give up trying to hold everything so tightly. And in that giving up, something in you loosens just enough to fall another small distance inward. You might sense now that if you tried to focus hard on any one thing, it would be difficult. The mind slips away. That is all right. There is nothing here that needs sharp focus. Soft focus is enough. You are like a lantern whose light has been turned down until it is barely more than a glow. That glow too can dim. At some point, without you noticing the exact moment, the flame will go out for a while. The lantern will still exist. It will not be broken. It will simply not be lit. That unlit time is deep sleep. The most healing, the most mysterious kind of rest. You do not remember it while you are in it, but you feel its effects. Muscles restored, thoughts a little lighter, emotions less jagged at the edges. You are moving very close to that now. There is nothing more you need from words to cross that final distance. You have heard enough. You have done enough. You have been enough for one day. Let the remainder of this night belong not to stories or to effort, but to the quiet wisdom of your own body and mind, doing what they have always known how to do when you finally step aside. If you are still barely listening, let these be among the last clear ideas you touch. I am here. I am breathing. I am held. I am allowed to rest. Then let even those phrases scatter like petals on a stream, carried away on the slow, dark current of sleep that is already rising to meet you, already reaching up from beneath and around and within, ready to carry you the rest of the way into deep, healing, dream-filled or dreamless rest until morning comes, from the place where doing has finally stopped, where the lamps in the great hall of your day have been turned out one by one. You are now very close to the softest place inside yourself. It is a place you do not visit often while awake. It lies deeper than your opinions, deeper than your worries, deeper even than your memories. It is a quiet center that has never been in a hurry, never been impressed, never been ashamed. Tonight, as your breath moves slowly and your body grows heavy and warm, you are being gently drawn into that center, the way a tide draws a small shell back toward the deep part of the sea. You may notice that thoughts now feel thin, almost transparent. A fragment appears, then dissolves before it fully forms. A face, a word, a small flash of color gone again. You cannot quite hold on to anything, and that is all right. You do not need to hold. You have spent so much of your life gripping thoughts so they would not escape you. Now you are allowed to let them pass through you like light through water. Sensations, too, may be softer. You know the bed is beneath you, but you might feel less of its details. Only a wide sense of support, like being held in a pair of gentle arms made of darkness and air. The lines that once separated your body from the space around it are blurring. You are still here, but you are not as solid as before. You are more like mist than stone. There is a great relief in that if you let yourself feel it. Imagine that deep within your chest there is a small room. Not the rooms of memory we visited with Hannah, full of old scenes. This room is simpler. The walls are bare, the floor is smooth. There is only one thing in it, a resting shape curled gently, almost like a child asleep. This shape is the most tender part of you, the part that feels everything, the part that has been hurt and hopeful and confused and brave. The part that, beneath all the effort and self-talk and plans, only ever wanted to feel safe and loved. For a long time, this part of you has stayed alert, even when you smiled, even when you worked, even when you laughed. It has kept an eye on the world, asking silently, is it safe to relax yet? Is it safe to stop preparing? Is it safe to trust? Tonight, the answer, for this span of hours, is yes. Yes, it is safe enough. Yes, it is time. Yes, you may rest. See yourself in your mind's gentle eye walking up to that small figure in the room. You do not have to say anything. Words are heavy here. You bend down, you sit beside them, and you simply place a hand on their shoulder. The message is simple. I am here. I will watch so you can sleep. You have carried me through so many days and nights. You can curl up now. Let yourself be the one who offers comfort to that inner self. You may feel, even in your actual body, a slight ease when you do this. A loosening in the chest, a softening in the belly, a quiet sense that for once the most sensitive part of you does not have to pretend to be strong. It can be small, it can be tired, it can be held. Outside that inner room, the world continues. Somewhere in some time zone, morning is arriving. Somewhere else, people are in the middle of their day, busy and loud. None of that reaches this room. The walls are not made of stone, yet they are impenetrable to noise. Only your breath is heard here. In, out, in, out. The rhythm is like someone stroking the back of a child, slow and reassuring, over and over, until even the smallest tremor of tension has nowhere left to cling. If you notice that you are still trying, even a little, to manage this process, see if you can smile inwardly at that instinct. It is so deeply learned, the sense that everything, even sleep, must be achieved through effort. You can whisper very gently, "Not this. This does not need my force. Sleep is not a mountain to climb. It is a valley to sink into. I do not have to push downward. I only stop climbing upward." The body knows how to fall. It has known since you were born. You might remember nights long ago when you were a child and sleep came without so much struggle. You did not think, "How many hours will I get? How rested will I be? Will I be productive tomorrow?" You simply stayed awake until you were not, and the gap between the two was so small you did not even notice crossing it. That simple trust still lives in your nervous system. Adult life has layered many thoughts over it, but it has not erased it. Beneath the layers of schedules and roles and fears, there is still a creature in you that knows how to curl up and vanish into deep rest. You are helping that creature tonight by not getting in its way. Feel once more the weight of your limbs. Your arms lie where they fell, their muscles long since off duty. Your legs are like logs in a slow river, heavy, drifting, not needed for walking. Your spine is not a pillar now. It is a string of warm, resting segments, each cushioned, each relieved of the work of holding you upright. The back of your head is cradled. Your face is unguarded. There is no one to impress here. No need to arrange your expression. You could drool, you could snore, you could make small sounds in your sleep. The night does not mind. It has heard stranger things. It will keep holding you. If a last, thin thought rises like smoke, saying, "But what if I wake in the night? What if I start worrying again?" you can meet it with a softness that matches the softness of your bed. You might answer, "Then I will do again what I have done tonight. I will feel my body. I will notice my breath. I will remember that I am allowed to rest even between thoughts. I do not have to be perfect at sleeping to benefit from lying down." There is no failure here, only degrees of ease, only small returns to this soft center. Understanding that frees you. You no longer have to pressure yourself into some ideal of uninterrupted rest. You only have to be kind to yourself each time you return to awareness. That kindness itself is part of the healing. Beyond this point, words are less useful. They begin to feel like small ripples on top of a deep lake. The important thing is the depth, not the ripples. You are very close to that depth now. You may already be dropping in and out of it as you listen. Sentences begin to break apart. You catch only half of them. They blend with the first grains of dream. Let that happen. Do not pull yourself back to catch what you missed. There is nothing here you must hold on to with your thinking mind. Everything that matters has already sunk below thought. Trust that. Trust yourself. Trust the same quiet wisdom that keeps your heart beating, that heals small cuts and fights off quiet illnesses while you sleep, that organizes your dreams into a language your deeper self can understand. You do not need to supervise any of it. You are the one being cared for now. If there is any last thing to do, it is only this. On your next exhale, let go just a little more than you did on the last. If you have been hovering, let yourself fall another inch. If you have been listening intently, let your attention soften and wander. If you have been holding your inner self in that quiet room, let even your hand grow light, as if the small figure has already drifted into their own sleep and no longer needs to be reassured. You can lie down beside them. You can share their blanket. You can join them in the deepest, most innocent kind of rest. Soon, perhaps already, these words will stop making full sense. They will not need to. They will fade into the general murmur of the night, into the gentle hum of your own body, into the vast, kind silence that has always lived at the center of you, waiting patiently for the moments like this one when you are finally ready to sink into it and be held, without effort, without questions, in the softest place inside, somewhere ahead of you, though you may not feel it now. This night will give way to morning. The darkness that holds you so gently will slowly thin. The world outside your window will begin to stir. But you do not need to move toward that moment yet. It will come on its own, the way dawn has always come, long before you were here and long after. For now, you are still resting in the deepest layers of the night, close to that soft center inside where the smallest, most tender part of you lies curled and safe. If sleep has already taken you, these words are only ripples on the surface of your dreaming. If you are still floating near the edge, still drifting between awareness and forgetting, they are a quiet hand on your shoulder, reminding you that nothing more is asked of you. Rest is not the opposite of life. It is part of its rhythm, breath in, breath out, day and night, effort and ease. For so long you may have tried to live as if only one half of that rhythm mattered. Action, progress, fixing, doing. The old stories of monks and merchants and farmers have been showing you another truth all along. That what allows wisdom to bloom in them is not constant effort, but the moments when something inside them lets go. When Haru put down the stone of the world, when Renyo stopped chasing praise long enough to feel his own worth, when the brothers released their coal of anger, when Taro stepped off the road of what if and felt the actual ground, when Hana closed the door to her painful room and opened another, when Kaito sat down on the ladder, when Daiichi stood on the hill and tasted enough. Tonight you have been walking your own version of those moments. You have not changed your whole life in a few hours, and you do not need to. But you have allowed at least a few tight places in you to loosen. You have practiced in your own small ways the art of putting something down. That is not nothing. That is the beginning of a different way to be with yourself. Somewhere deep in your nervous system, tonight's journey is leaving a trace. Perhaps tomorrow or one day soon you will find yourself in a familiar storm. A worry begins to spin. A familiar self-criticism rises. An old resentment flares. In the middle of that, for just a heartbeat, you might feel the faintest echo of this night, the weight of a stone leaving your hands, the image of a road you can step off, the memory of lying here, breathing, realizing that you are allowed to rest even when not everything is fixed. That echo will not shout. It will not force you to be calm. It will be a single quiet doorway in a wall that once seemed solid. You may walk past it. Or one day you might pause and turn toward it and take a step through. Even that one step will be different because of the seeds planted in the dark. While you lay here, imagine in the deepest part of your sleep that tiny seeds are indeed being placed in the soft soil of your heart and mind. Not seeds of perfection or grand achievement, but seeds of gentler habits. A seed that says, when I am overwhelmed by the world's pain, I can put down the stone for a while without becoming uncaring. A seed that says, when I hear the voice of not enough, I can remember the bell that rings simply because it is struck, not because it has earned the right to make a sound. A seed that says, when anger grips me, I can notice the burn in my own hand and consider loosening my fingers. A seed that says, when my thoughts sprint into the future, I can return to the feeling of my feet on the actual ground. A seed that says, when old memories pull me into one dark room, I can remember that there are other rooms in my life as well. A seed that says, when I start to turn myself into a project, I can treat myself instead as a garden already worthy of care. A seed that says, when I chase more, I can also pause to taste enough. None of these seeds demand that you change overnight. They do not demand anything at all. They simply rest in you, waiting for the right conditions to sprout. A quiet morning, a pause between tasks, a moment when you have had enough of being hard on yourself and are finally ready to try another way. Sleep itself is part of the watering. As you go deeper, your brain will do its strange and wise work. It will sort through the impressions of the day. It will file away memories. It will dissolve some sharp edges of pain. It will weave some of what you have heard tonight into the fabric of how you make sense of the world. You do not have to see this happening. In fact, you cannot. It is like watching a plant grow. Nothing seems different, and then suddenly one day there is a new leaf. For now, all that is asked of you is that you allow this process by not standing in its way with endless thinking. That you give your system the quiet and darkness and stillness it needs to do its hidden work. When morning does come, it may arrive slowly. Perhaps your eyes will open before you are ready to move. You might lie there, the remnants of dreams still hanging around you like faint mist. For a moment, the old habits may rush back in. The list of what you must do. The memory of what went wrong yesterday. The familiar stories about who you are, what you lack, what you fear. If that happens, you do not have to be disappointed. You have had these patterns for a long time. They do not vanish in one night. But you will have one new choice. Between the first rush of thought and your next action, there will be a small space. In that space, you can remember, even briefly, that somewhere inside you there is also the river, the rooftop garden, the hill at sunset, the inner house where the watcher rests. You can decide in that small space to give yourself one gentle breath before diving into the day. Inhale, exhale. That simple act carried from the night into the morning is how this journey continues. The teachings of this night are not meant to stay on a pillow. They are meant to travel with you in very ordinary ways. When you wash your face, you can feel the water as the monk felt the stone, as something real in your hands instead of something rushed past on the way to somewhere else. When you eat, you can let one bite be enough to notice before moving to the next. When you speak to someone, you can let your attention ring like the bell, fully there for that moment. When you catch your mind racing or tightening or wandering back into the old rooms, you can treat that noticing not as failure, but as an invitation to step, however briefly, back onto the quieter path. You will forget. Of course you will. Everyone does. That is why nights like this matter. They are places where you practice over and over the art of returning to the body, to the breath, to the simple sense that you are here and that, for this breath at least, you do not have to hold the whole world together. Even if you wake in the middle of the night before morning comes, you have now a familiar way back. Feel the bed. Feel the weight of your body. Remember one image from this journey that calms you. A stone being set down, a coal cooling, a broom sweeping a small square of path, a leaf on a tree, a plant in a pot, a hill under a wide sky. Let that image be a short bridge back into the softness you have found. You do not have to listen again from the beginning. The wisdom you need has already met you. It lives in you now, in small, quiet ways. As you sink again, or for the first time, into deeper sleep, let one last reassurance rest in your chest. You are not behind, not in this practice, not in your life. You are where you are. You have done what you could with what you knew. Tonight you knew enough to lie down, to listen, to soften a little. That is not a small thing. That is a turning. However slowly, however gently, you are turning toward a kinder way of being with yourself. The night sees this. The world feels this. Your own body thanks you for this mercy. Now you can let go of even these thoughts. You can let the night finish what it has begun. You can drift the rest of the way into sleep, carrying within you not more effort, but a small, steady promise that you can return to this path again. night after night, breath after breath, until it feels less like a special journey and more like coming home. By now you are so deep inside this night that even the memory of how the day felt may seem far away, like something that happened to someone else in another town, under a different sky. The names of the hours have faded. Morning, afternoon, evening, all of them have slipped off your shoulders like coats you no longer need to wear. You are lying here with nothing between you and the simple truth that you are tired and that it is safe for these hours to let that tiredness have its way. In this depth, words are like faint traces on water. You hear them, but they do not ask much of you. They drift across the surface of your awareness while the greater part of you is already sinking into a quiet no thought can reach. You do not need to resist that sinking. It is not a fall into emptiness. It is a return. The way a wave that has traveled all day returns to the wider body of the sea. If any part of you is still trying to stay alert, still holding on to the edges of wakefulness with tired fingers, it may be out of habit. For a long time you have learned that vigilance is safety, that if you keep thinking, keep scanning, keep rehearsing, you will somehow stay ahead of danger or regret. Tonight has been a long, gentle conversation with that habit. Each story you heard, each breath you felt was a way of showing that there is another kind of safety. Not the safety of perfect control, which no one has, but the safety of being able to soften even when life is not perfect, of being able to trust that for a few hours, you can lay your burdens down and the world will continue turning without your constant watch. At this depth of night, the habit of vigilance is tired too. It may still twitch, like a muscle that has worked too long, but it is losing its strength. You can help it rest with the simplest of actions. Each time you notice your mind reaching for a new worry or a new problem, you answer not with more thought, but with a long, slow exhale. Let that breath carry the impulse out of you like smoke leaving a room. You do not have to push it, you only have to let it go with the air. Imagine that inside your mind there was once a great crowded market. All day it has been loud. Stalls of memory and stalls of worry, stalls of plans and stalls of regret, all shouting over each other. Tonight, one by one, those stalls have closed, the canvases have been pulled down, the lamps have been snuffed, the sellers have gone home. Now, at this late hour, only a few figures remain, packing up slowly, their voices low and tired. Soon, even they will leave. You are standing in the middle of that market, but it is almost empty now. The cobblestones under your feet are cool. The air is soft. Above you, a piece of sky opens where once there were only signs and awnings. You can see a few stars. In a moment, you will not even be standing. You will be lying down in the middle of that quiet square, letting the sky look back at you while you sleep. There is no one left to see you, no one to judge you. You are alone in the best way, free of performance, free of expectation. The body, sensing this emptiness, begins to do what it has wanted to do since you first laid your head down. Muscles release more deeply. Joints settle. The subtle holding in your throat and belly slackens. Your heartbeat, which has carried the pace of your day, begins to follow the slower beat of the night. There may still be little knots here and there, places in your shoulders or jaw that stay tense out of sheer habit. You do not have to untie them all. Sleep itself is a kind of gentle hand working on those knots from the inside. As you drop further, the body will keep loosening in its own way without needing your direction. You are no longer the driver, you have moved to the passenger seat, or better yet, you have climbed into the back of the carriage, closed your eyes and let the horse find its own way home along a familiar road. The teachings of Zen often speak of the mind that is empty and clear, like a mirror or a still pond. During the day, trying to force your thoughts to stop often makes them louder. But at this depth of night, you may notice glimpses of what those old teachers meant. There are pauses now, brief and wide, where nothing much moves inside you. You are not repeating anything. You are not evaluating anything. You are not even narrating your own experience. You simply are. For a beat or two, maybe a little longer, you exist without adding any story on top of that existence. That is a kind of quiet enlightenment in itself, a simple wordless being that does not need a name. You have touched it before in moments of awe or deep presence. You are touching it again now, only this time wrapped in blankets, eyes closed on the border of sleep. If you try to hold on to that stillness, it will likely slip away. That is all right. It is not meant to be gripped. It is like the surface of a pond that a bird drinks from in passing. A touch, a ripple, then the water is smooth again. The value is not in keeping the bird there forever. It is in the countless brief visits. Night after night, moment after moment, you are given this chance to return to a mind that is not occupied with its usual chatter. Even if the visit is short, it leaves a trace. It reminds you that you are more than the noise that fills your waking hours. Soon, even the act of noticing will feel like too much. The part of you that has been listening to these words will grow heavy and dim. It may already be happening. You may catch only every third or fourth sentence. You may drift away and come back, not quite sure how much time has passed. This is exactly how this part of the journey is meant to unfold. You are not sitting in a classroom. You are floating on the dark ocean of sleep, and this voice is only a distant lighthouse now, its beam passing over you now and then as you drift further out. You do not need its guidance as much anymore. The water itself is carrying you. Think of all the forms of effort that have fallen away since the day began. You are not holding up your posture. You are not choosing your words. You are not managing other people's impressions of you. You are not solving puzzles or navigating streets or balancing numbers. Even the effort of holding your own image in front of yourself, this is who I am, this is what I must be, is fading. You are becoming something simpler. Breath, warmth, weight, a small, steady pulse, a point of life in a vast, patient dark. And even that small point will soon dissolve for a while into dreamless sleep where you are so at rest that you will not remember having been there. That forgetting is not loss. It is mercy. It is the mind's way of turning all the lights out for a time so deeper repair can happen. If any last resistance rises, some tight, bright spark that says I should stay awake, I should listen, I should hold on to this, see if you can meet it with a kindness that has no edges. You might answer very softly, not in words, but in feeling. It is all right to let go. We have come far enough for tonight. We can stop trying now. Imagine that spark settling down like a firefly whose light finally dims as it folds its wings and rests on a leaf. The night does not scold it for going dark. The night was made to hold such things. You are so close now to the place where even these thoughts cannot follow. The stories have all lain down. The characters have curled into sleep. The river has widened into still water. The market is empty. The lamps are off. The inner child is curled up in their quiet room. The world itself is breathing slowly around you. You are in the very heart of the night's embrace. From here on, there is nothing to do but allow the night to finish the work it began when you first closed your eyes. If you are still barely listening, let one more breath be your bridge. In, feeling the faint awareness that you exist. Out, letting that awareness thin, soften, dissolve into something larger. Then again, if you are still here. And again, until even the counting of breaths is gone and only the breathing remains. The rest of this night belongs to your body, your deeper mind, and the vast, kind darkness that knows how to heal more than any words ever could. You have brought yourself this far. Now let the night carry you the rest of the way, into whatever deep, spacious, dream-filled or silent sleep awaits you until morning, gentle and patient, comes to lift you back into the light. By now you are so deep in the night's embrace that the idea of parts and chapters may not mean very much. The day you lived before this seems far away, like a story someone else told you long ago. The names of the people you met, the tasks you completed, the problems you tried to solve have all faded to faint outlines at the edge of your awareness. What remains is simpler. A body lying in a safe place, a breath moving in and out. A softness spreading through muscles, through thoughts, through the very center of you. And beneath all of that, like a quiet thread running through the dark, the sense that you are being allowed finally to stop. If you are still aware of these words at all, it is probably in flashes. A phrase here, a picture there. You may drift away and return without quite knowing when you left. That is exactly how this part of the journey is meant to be. This is not a time for sharp focus. It is a time for dissolving, for letting edges blur, for letting the stories we have walked through together settle into the background. Like lanterns that have done their work and can now burn low, you have met many inner landscapes tonight. The courtyard where the stone of the world was finally set down. The garden where Renyo learned that his worth did not depend on anyone's praise. The valley road where two brothers chose peace over being right. The dusty path where Taro stepped off the road of what if and felt the ground beneath his feet. The narrow hallway of Hana's memories where one painful room was joined by others full of warm light. The rooftop garden where Kaito sat on his ladder and decided to stop turning himself into a project. The hill above the harbor where Daichi tasted for one breath the quiet flavor of enough. The temple of your own body mapped from head to toe, invited to soften. The raft on the slow river, the small inner house by the water, the empty market square, the field where even the stories lay down to sleep. All of these places are part of a single path. Tonight you have walked it in one long, gentle arc. But you do not need to remember every step. The path is not made of memory. It is made of something deeper, the simple experiences of letting go, of softening, of seeing your struggles with kinder eyes. Those experiences leave their imprint even when their shapes are forgotten. Somewhere in you now there is a new familiarity with the feeling of putting something down, even for a moment. The stone, the coal, the ladder, the endless list of tasks, the need to be perfect before you rest. You have seen that you can set these things aside without betraying your values, without abandoning the people you care about, without failing at life. You have seen that rest does not make you careless. It makes you more able to walk back into your life with clear eyes and a steadier heart. That understanding is the path you can always return to. Not just in long nights like this, but in small pockets of your days. A breath taken before you answer a difficult message. A pause to feel your feet on the ground before you step into a challenging room. A moment of noticing your body, your chest, your belly, your shoulders when the old stories of not enough or too much or what if begin to speak. You do not have to turn every moment into a spiritual exercise. That would only be another form of striving. But you can remember now and then that this gentler way of relating to yourself exists, because you have tasted it here. Tonight's journey may seem on the surface like it was about falling asleep, and it was. But under that, it has also been about something larger, remembering that you deserve kindness from yourself, that your heart has carried enough weight to earn at the very least your own patience, that you do not have to earn every breath you take, that sometimes the most advanced practice, the deepest wisdom, is as simple as lying down and letting yourself be held by a bed, by a room, by the night, by the rhythm of your own lungs. As you lie here now, you are not being measured, not by any teacher, not by any invisible standard, not by the stories themselves. They are asleep. They are not watching to see how well you apply them. There is no exam at the end of this audio. No one will grade how deeply you rested or how perfectly you let go. There is only the experience of this moment, this breath, this body, this night. Let that simplicity wash through you. If a thought rises that tries to make things complicated again, you can meet it with the same soft attention you have practiced. A simple noticing, a simple breath, a simple choice not to follow it far. At this depth, even that choice does not have to be deliberate. It can be more like the way your hand naturally opens when it becomes too tired to hold something. Effort fades, and the fingers uncurl on their own. The mind, too, uncurls when it is tired enough. You are helping it by not closing your fist around every passing thought. Perhaps you can feel, somewhere beneath your ribs, a kind of warmth. It might be very faint. It might feel like a small ember the size of a fingertip glowing quietly. That warmth is not excitement. It is not anxiety. It is not the rush of adrenaline you know well from busy hours. It is something calmer. A sense of still being here, still being alive even when you are doing nothing. A sense that there is a part of you that is fundamentally all right, even when the surface of your days is noisy and hard. That ember does not depend on success or failure, on praise or blame, on clear answers or unsolved questions. It simply glows. The more you allow yourself to rest, the more you trust that you do not have to hold everything up. The easier it becomes to feel that quiet center, not as a concept, not as a borrowed idea, but as your own direct experience. In the nights to come, if you choose to return to this path, the way back may be shorter. The stories may feel familiar sooner. The body may remember more quickly how to soften. The mind may loosen its grip with a little less resistance. That is how any practice works, not as a straight climb upward, but as a series of small returns. Some nights will be easier, some will be harder. None of them will be a test of your worth. They will simply be chances to practice being gentler with yourself. Tonight you have done more than enough. You have listened as far as you could. You have allowed yourself in greater or smaller degrees to sink into the bed, into your body, into a sense of being held by something larger than your worries. From this point on, you do not need more guidance. You do not need more words. The night itself knows what to do. Your brain knows how to drop you into deeper sleep. Your muscles know how to release. Your heart knows how to keep beating even when you are not paying attention. You can trust this. You can trust yourself. If you are still faintly aware of this voice, let it become like a distant sound through a half-open window. A murmur you do not need to follow. You can turn inward now, toward the softest place inside, where the smallest version of you is already sleeping. You can curl up beside them. You can let the rest of you catch up. When morning finally comes, whether you remember much of this or not, some part of you will know that you were, for a time, very deeply allowed to rest, and that knowledge will travel with you quiet and steady as you step back into the light. For now, let go of even that thought. Let the night finish what it began. Let sleep, deep and healing and kind, rise up to meet you, surround you, and carry you wherever you need to go until the first gentle light of a new day touches your eyes. As this journey comes to a close, gently bring your attention back to the simple feeling of your breath. In and out, rising and falling. Even if you are already very sleepy, you can let these last words wash over you like a soft echo at the end of a long, peaceful song. Thank you for choosing to spend your night here, resting with these Zen stories and these quiet reflections. Out of all the sounds and voices you could have listened to, you allowed this space to be part of your evening, part of your inner world. That is a gift, and I'm deeply grateful. If this time together helped you feel even a little lighter, a little calmer, a little more at home in your own heart, you are warmly invited to return whenever you need. You can come back to this session on restless nights, or simply on evenings when you want to fall asleep with gentle, mindful company instead of noise and worry. If you'd like more journeys like this, more Buddhist sleep stories, soft guided meditations, and peaceful nighttime reflections, you can support this space in a very simple way. Before you drift off completely or tomorrow when you wake up, please consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribing helps this small corner of the internet stay alive and grow so that more people who are tired, anxious, or lonely at night can find their way here and rest with you. You can also tap the like button if this video brought you comfort, and when you have time and energy, you're welcome to share your experience in the comments. Your words may be the gentle sign someone else needs to see on a difficult day, reminding them they are not alone. If you'd like to know when new sleep journeys and meditations are uploaded, you can turn on the notification bell and future nights of calm will be just a click away. For now, there is nothing more you need to do. No more choices to make, no more effort to give. You have done enough for today. Let the day fall behind you like a cloak slipping from your shoulders. Let your body grow heavy and warm. Let your breath guide you the rest of the way into deep, healing sleep. Thank you from my heart for being here. May your night be peaceful. May your dreams be gentle. May you wake tomorrow with a softer mind, a lighter heart, and the quiet knowing that you can always return to this path of rest whenever you need it. Good night, dear friend. Sleep well.